Hello and welcome back to CrestVahllen D&D, the Argent Flame. I'm your not-so-humble Dungeon Master, TJ, and here at the table we have Adam.
I'm Adam. I play the Gnome Artificer, Zemdak. Can I fix it? Yes, I can.
Okay, Bob.
I'm Theo. I play Sofka, the half-elf druid, and I don't know, she just likes rats.
Squeak.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I play Cole Vodison, and if I ever find out who touched my fucking loot, I'm gonna fucking murder you.
I'm Kenton. I play Argus Firebeard, and we found out what breaks a dwarf. It's called a Vein Man and Mantine.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm Noelle. I play Thrishani Unkmut, and I am a Kenran wizard. And you know, I'm just your friendly neighborhood scroll troll. You know, just DMing around.
I love it and hate it.
I'm Cody, and I play Log Jamming. Mind Flayer, I barely know her.
Oh my god!
That is just pure log right there. I'm sorry.
That's so log. Classic log. Classic log. I need a beer that says classic log on it.
A bunch of idioms of log.
Okay, great.
We need the shirt for log that just says, I was just trying to help.
Yeah, just trying to help. I'm sorry I burdened down your dildo collection. I was just trying to help.
Just like a vlog compilation.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Vlog compilation.
Oh,
Just like,
God.
sorry.
Some of the ideas that log has come up with.
Perfect.
Sorry, my
Perfect. Perfect.
We are perfect.
Sorry,
Well
my
intentioned.
Okay. And Tweg's just in there like, you got it, boy. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, welcome back to the Argent Flame, CrestVahllen D&D. Some a little sad news. Lynn is leaving the campaign. She will no longer be in CrestVahllen D&D anymore. That's okay. We're going to move forward. And Lance is out today, so we will just be having the rest of the group here. That being said, let's do some announcements. Yeah. Right. So, moving forward, we do have a new battle cam that we'll be using. We splurged a little bit, and we have a cam that's now looking down at the table, so we can see the fucking combat map. So we have that. We are working on a bunch of other content for our channel, including post-session analysis, stuff that we talk about. Some of the players are going to stick around. We're going to talk about what happened. We will not be streaming these live. We will be recording these and then we'll post them up after the sessions get posted up. And we're going to be calling them. I think we're going to call the Argent Flame one the Burnt Ends, right?
Yeah.
That sounds good. Yeah, we'll call the Argent Flame the Burnt Ends, and then we're still coming up with a name for the Baker's Done, but that's okay. We'll figure that out when we get there. We also have some things called the Lore Keeper's Tales coming up too, where I talk about the map and kind of give you a cursory overview of what's happening and what has happened, some basic history of the world as the homebrew world that I've built. And so kind of like an intro crash course 101 to all things CrestVahllen. And so yeah, just check those out. Stay posted for those, and then what I'll also be doing some more regional and specific analysis with those as well, at least as part of Volume 1. We've also been speaking of possibly doing something called the Relentless Coliseum, where some of our players are going to be in just pure combat. Level 1, fight something, you level up, you go to the next level, you fight something, just for fun, kind of like, not necessarily battle royale, but just battle intensive, yeah, let's do mechanics, crunch.
Fight till you die.
Yeah, it's like Fight Coliseum, we'll just have some fun with that.
Yes,
And that's
my
open
world.
for all of our players that we have on either campaign. We might bring some outside players in as well, we'll see what's happening with that.
Cam's gonna run that one, right?
Yes, Cameron will be DMing that stuff. Cameron who plays a scoop in the Baker's Dozen, will be running that. Speaking of which, so we are trying to get more content in, including having some of our other players, itchy nose, doing maybe some one-shots along the line and a couple of other things. There's a lot of stuff on the back burner. So we are working on that. Please stay tuned. A lot of content coming. back burner. I saw you. Argus is over there. Back burner.
Is that what we're calling like Argus's new section? Is back burner?
The back burner. The back burner. You just roast ass all the time. Perfect.
Not untrue.
Sit there and make fun of everyone.
Yeah, it's just the roasting. Like, oh, that makes sense. We could do the Argus roasts. Oh, wow, that's actually not a bad idea. Where we just you're just featured, and we just have you roast some characters. And be like, what the fuck was Log thinking? Trying to help. That's really funny.
Log
Or maybe you
thinking?
just roast
Just
NPCs
easy
the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun too.
That could be a lot of
Oh,
fun.
you could probably spend a half an hour on Paige alone.
What's her name?
I was gonna say, yeah,
the
Paige would be a
terrible
great
blacksmith.
one. Oh, Yvain?
Yvain?
Yeah.
Just like shit on a Bane.
You mean no brain?
Oh! He's already got him
I
lined
can
up.
see 15 minutes just on Pernua stabbing you.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Willow too.
Oh, okay.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So needless to say, guys, we've got a bunch of stuff hopefully coming up. Please stay tuned. Please subscribe to our channel. Check it out. We're just a bunch of idiots having some fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Okay. I believe that calls it for announcements. Anything else? No? Nobody? Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's it. That being said, let's move on to our recap of the last session, which encapsulates, I believe, episodes 11 to 13. Great. Let's see if I can pull this up, and I'll get ready with my John. Great. Pause this music. All right, and we'll bring in something else. Okay. Here we go. As the extremely imposing form of the gargantuan purple worm bears down on the Argent flame, the party is filled with dread, but quickly ready themselves for combat. Shrill shrieks are heard down the tunnel that the worm had bore as a swarm of amphitheres flood out into the triway, harrying the group. Revik attracts the annelid's attention with his loud movement, causing him to become swallowed, now dissolving in the creature's stomach acid. Trosheni slows the subterranean creatures as Revik pummels the innards of the violet violence, causing a regurgitation, spewing him across the ground. The party assists each other as Log has Tweg crawl under the plates of the worm, inflicting grievous wounds to the larval monstrosity. As Conk drives one of his spines into the worm's form, felling the threat, the rest of the gang mop up the remaining amphitheres, leaving most of their members battered and wounded, but alive. The band member remembers tales of purple worms turning the ore and rock that they devour into precious metals and gems, leading them to do some rectal excavation in search of valuable materials. Zemdek delves up the massive creature's posterior as other members rest and recuperate. After some prizes are mined, the gang scour the coiling tunnels left in the worm's wake for more, eventually coming across a large, lumpy mass of stone, ore, and gems at the bottom of a steep slope. Upon further inspection of the wormstone, deposits of copper, silver, gold, diamonds, and adamantine are discovered as part of its constituent materials. Argus and Zemdak set up a makeshift mining camp and do their best to harvest the valuable materials in a timely fashion, while others keep watch and guard the tunnel entrance. At the mention of adamantine, Revik has a vision of a previously corrupted memory file, in which a large construct, seemingly entirely made out of adamantine, is being constructed before him, nudging an elf at his side. Messages are sent to Argus's father, requesting that he send some trusted help to mine the wormstone of adamantine, as hope is held out. Meanwhile, Log has not stopped trying to saw off the head of the spineless creature, making a gruesome mess. Standing guard, Revik notices the sound of approaching footsteps, and as much of the party prep themselves, hiding mostly, for visitors, a group of construction miners arrive. Some of the confrontational tension is palpable, as the miners see this as a way to get some quick treasure. However, the presence of the Bardic College official, a triumvirate badge, and the terraforming form of Sofka exiting the maw of the purple worm causes the construction workers to make a hasty exit northward, carrots being exchanged for a goodberry along the way. Realizing that there is no functional way of harvesting the adamantine, the Argent Flame continue northward after harvesting some worm plating for spell tablets. Along the road, the band experience tremors of more than usual frequency while Trosheni scribes a spell upon a worm plate tablet, allowing Willow to read her ancient cryptic book of Primordial. Smashing the tablet, Willow then reads the once illegible text that painstakingly cracks itself into a decipherable script, the tome attempting to resist. upon each character. Most that attempt to listen to her verbatim are deafened and psychically shunted. Only Argus and Fresheni able to bypass its will. It speaks of an ancient schism that occurred after the sky fell, cryptic and incomplete. Resuming travel, the prank wars continue as Argus attempts to teach Willow the primordial language. During one night of rest, Shakar spots an odd cube of gel with a face that dissolves some mushrooms before sliding away into nearby stone cracks. Eventually, the party come upon an excavation site where a large fossil is being unearthed, but perhaps, most surprisingly, also Mind Flayer remains. Now, welcome back to CrestVahllen. Have a little bit more time. There we go. I did my best, guys. We have fun here.
That was one of. I think that's the first time I've ever seen you finish under
Early.
time.
Yeah.
I heard it a little bit before, and the drop was supposed to be at 4, but it ended up being at like 4:05.
Watch him slow down.
Crest.
Okay.
We're paraprofessionals.
Vahllen.
Yeah. Crest. Vahllen. Okay, cool.
That's right. I'll speed it up in editing.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
I just love I'm checking it out and watching us on here just to make sure. So I just saw myself do this as I was waiting, then put my hands down because like, oh, it's not gonna be like
I know
that.
all
quick.
of you were like, ready to go. Like it's like thinking the drop is gonna be at an EDM song, and you being like,
Nope.
oh, and then you do that
The
thing
bar
where you're like, I
early.
don't even care what the
Right.
drop is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It still matters.
So we had just left the big dig, and we were heading towards the other.
We hadn't left the dig yet. They had
So
she had
you
just,
just-
they had just
just mentioned
revealed
Mind
that.
Yeah, you had just come upon the dig.
Right.
Remember, the
We had talked to
yes.
Bagra.
Sagra a little bit, but I
And-
thought we were sort of done.
No, they had just revealed that they were eating ithalids, and that's where we ended.
Illithid.
Mine.
You read it your way, I read it my way.
Well, it's not LID, it's THID.
Well,
Illithid. Yeah. So, but yes.
Show off the fingers you want to put out.
We're already not suitable enough for work as it is.
Great. So yes, the individual that you came across, yes, Bagra Swishstone
Yep.
is the head archaeologist here. She actually showed you her rainbow bean, her
Yeah.
bardic badge of immunity, which and she had said, I'm from the College of the Unearthed, which you recognize, but it's a very, very new college. You're actually also familiar. You remember Tamrid. Tamrid is a member of the College of the Unearthed.
Yep.
He's also an archaeologist from the Baker's Dozen. So she's here as the head archaeologist to mine these and preserve these fossils that she had found. But yeah, you guys had just come up. You had asked some cursory questions, and when she mentioned, oh right, we also found some fossils of mind flayers that appear to be in the position of like prey to whatever this thing is, which to you is like, shit, what the fuck is this thing? So yeah, that's where we'll pick up.
So, Bagra, you're telling me that that whatever this is eating mind, like ate mind flayers, or they were
Well, I don't
after
know
them?
if it's. I mean, it's obviously not still eating mind flayers.
Right, of course.
It's long since dead. We haven't entirely excavated. There's quite a bit of it, so we haven't entirely excavated all of it. But yes, all signs point to that it was being hunted or preyed upon by said creature or thing. We're not sure yet what it is, but just that discovery alone is worth the annals of history. Of course, I mean, just finding out something that could destroy such a powerful creature could be worth so many lives, especially in the future. I mean, this is what the college of the Bardic College is all about. You know, making sure that history is preserved and that culture is preserved, that we can go forward and make sure that our lives are saved. So yes, I'm very proud.
Cole's hands are twitching, like to go back to his notebook, but
Sure.
being the scholar that he is, he's like, I can't steal somebody else's discovery.
Oh no! I mean, you could.
No, I can mention it, but I need to mention like that stuff. Like, I don't want to be taking the massive notes like they're.
You don't
taking
want to
kind of-
plagiarize. You
Exact-
want to
yeah.
cite your sources.
I don't want to be, like that person who gets the patent in just before the other person who's worked all my stuff based on, But Cole's gonna be like, oh, did you find any writings that go along with this? Like, what all have you found?
No, apparently all we've found so far is fossils.
Just fossils,
So
okay.
most of skeletal structures, mostly. Yes, almost entirely skeletal structures. The only reason why we can tell that this is an illithid is due to its unique skeletal structure, which is very unique. Then again, we did find other humanoid skeletal structures that are beyond anything we've ever seen before. We don't know what it is. It's nothing of such species has ever been catalogued. So this could be a groundbreaking and precedent-setting discovery. So you can imagine how protective I am of my archaeology site. So if you could just take one step back, then we appreciate
I understand. That's why my book is staying in my backpack right now. This is yours.
Oh no! I don't take it the wrong way. I very much looking forward to sharing this information with the college and then the world in general once it's published.
I look forward to reading this.
Yes,
This
of course.
is fascinating.
So, does this thing still exist?
That is yet to be determined. We haven't really. Again, we have been.
Identified.
We are come short of identifying what it is. So
Oh,
You-
okay.
all we know is that it did live a very, very, very long time ago, and it was somehow encased in the stone of this mountain. So
I was going to ask you about that. Is it normal to find things like this, like hunting, like
within the stone.
do they die as they're hunting and they get preserved like that?
I understand what your question is. Well, over the course of sometimes millions of years, sediment does build up over creatures,
Sure.
and then they become fossilized and petrified, and which is why they have to be digged up for obvious reasons. But to find them this deep within a mountain range, within an actual mountain, this deep would suggest, from what we can tell, the stone and the ore found around these creatures looks to be volcanic in nature, meaning that this thing probably was submerged in magma or lava at one point, died there, and then was rather than being melted, was preserved, petrified, and fossilized. Being that so it was probably quickly cooled after the death of it, and then either suffocated or something, or probably just died from the magma.
So hunted the other creatures,
Yes.
perhaps brought them back to its nest, and then was killed. And that's why you found them all together?
Well, the position that we found this creature in, granted that we only were able to unearth yet 10% of this massive creature so far. But what we were able to unearth is that the humanoid creatures that we cannot identify apparently have mounted this large creature in a position of like mounting a steed, as it were.
Oh.
That's the larger portion of what we were able to discover. Also, if I'm to extrapolate the position of the spinal column, it looks like they are in a position to prep right before an attack. Granted, we don't really know much more, meaning that they were in mid-prey hunting. Combat or prey hunting of the Mind Flayer, which has their skeleton structure in a defensive position.
When
Meaning that something happened quickly,
Lock them
like
on.
a lava tube exploded, perhaps, and filled the entire chamber with lava while they were still at odds,
Or
and then preserved them like this.
something else blew up and
Possibly.
immersed them or something like
Yes,
that.
that is yet to be determined. But it does look like some sort of subterranean combat was happening, and something either collapse or lava or something else which is occurred.
And what humanoid is the writer's most similar skeletal structure?
There are some similarities to elven anatomy, only in the form of the angular, the angular facial skeletal structures and how exaggerated some of the features are. However, the oral cavities, which I mean the ear canal cavities, suggest a long elongated ear, which means could be a subrace of elf, but it doesn't look like any elf subrace I've ever seen before, and the large cranial structure that goes back far larger than it should suggests high intelligence as well.
Is this anything that I've possibly heard of or read about?
Roll a history check.
Adam's over here saying, "Don't metagame.
Yeah, don't do it.
Have you? We might have means to help identify some things too magically if you are willing to. If
Oh
you're,
yes, I have those capabilities as well.
Oh,
Yes,
fantastic.
unfortunately, the identify spell has proven less than useful on something like this. Of course, none of these fossils have appeared to be magic in nature. Appear to be all mundane.
Okay.
So the only information that I get when I cast it is this is a fossil.
I mean, that's still. I mean,
Have you had a holy person down here to speak with the dead?
No, however, I believe yes. We have used certain methods like that in the past, and granted, we're still trying to get the funding in order to get someone on retainer in order to possibly do that. But the problem with that is that the corpse does need to be free from the stone and able to be moved, and able to communicate. We're still in the process, and of course, this is a very, very delicate process. So this could take 5, 6, couple decades. Who knows?
Have you
Especially
gotten,
with the size of the fossil.
you gotten any of the riders' skulls out?
No, that is specifically what we're working on at the present moment.
Ooh,
We suggest probably another few months, and we should be able to free some
Are
fossils.
you able to tell what the riders' weapons are made of or anything like that?
It looks to be some sort of Chris.
Long degraded, I'm sure.
Yes, much long degraded. It's petrified. Chris made out of a metal that I am entirely unfamiliar with.
Oh, 14 history, by the way.
14 history.
Yeah.
None of this. You have no idea. Like this is one. This is out of your ballywick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and two, the fact that this isn't. This is the precedent being set. Like, there's nothing. There's no records of this. But she does say like the Chris appears to be made of some sort of ore or metal or stone. We don't know what material it is actually. We don't know if it's an ore. We don't know if it's a metal. We don't know it's a stone, and we can't really identify it.
If it's a stone, I mean that could be years and years old, kind of
Would
thing.
you
Right.
be willing to part with a sample?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
I mean,
No, it's fair
absolutely
enough.
not.
That's fair enough.
I
was
show
curious.
I show my brother
I'm a-
like I am a member of the cottage. I can help you protect these things.
Roll a persuasion check.
I'm a tinker of the triumvirate, and we have a master.
Oh, who's your sponsor?
Smith. Unfortunately,
I'm plus 11
my
persuasion.
sponsor is no longer a member in good standing. I was sort of
Oh.
orphaned, if you...
Well, forgive me if I come across a bit crass, but of course we have to make sure that we stay in good standing
fair
with
enough.
our archaeological endeavor, especially since it's up and coming annex of the College of Lore.
That's
If,
fair.
if we don't stay in good standing, we won't get any funding, and then the whole thing could collapse, and then thousands of lives could be lost because we lose information. So I apologize. Yes,
28.
28 for your persuasion check.
17 plus 11.
Yes.
Gotta love being a bard.
Okay. I suppose, obviously under supervision, but I suppose you could.
We don't need to take it out of the area, just to
Oh,
examine.
you will absolutely not be.
Yeah.
I am. You also won't be touching it.
Fair.
But you can view it, if you like. I can have one of my my domos help you. One of my other archaeological digs here.
Do you mind if
archaeologists.
this man and I point to if this fellow and I point to Gizmo and helps me take a look at? He's much smarter than me when it comes to these sort of things.
Is he one under your employ?
Yes, he's with my
Roll a
employ.
deception check. Sorry, buddy.
Oh no, it's fair.
So of the bones that have been
Oh, okay.
uncovered, are there any that are
23.
23. Of course, only as long as it's in an unofficial capacity.
I won't touch
of course.
anything. Just
yes.
look.
Please no touching. This gentleman will escort you, and she points to a halfling that's like, all right, let's go.
of
Give
bones
me, like,
that have been
Got charcoal.
revealed? Are any like protruding significantly, or
There looks to be what. You know what? Go ahead and roll a nature check, because the shape of these bones, just because of the size and scale of them, and how there's only a portion of it showing, are really hard to actually grant you a perspective or of like what locale of the anatomy this is supposed to be, or it's really just hard to tell what the fuck this thing is, because you only see a tip of an iceberg. You know,
11?
11. Maybe it's a shoulder blade, maybe it's a heel, maybe it's a penis.
Well, the question is basically, is it protruding enough that if I were to just like walk over and
Oh,
nonchalant, like
Okay, so the fossil of the larger creature, the massive creature, looks to be of a bent nature, that is kind of like the corner of a very large bone. If you were tried to, you might have to jump on top of it to break something off. And
So it couldn't be nonchalant.
Yeah,
That-
not really.
that's the question.
You could
Okay.
possibly
Is-
like take a
thank
chisel
God.
and try to chisel a part off,
Nonchalant, I was
but it
trying
is
to
up.
send
It's a
the thought
good,
of, don't touch.
so it is a good 15 feet up in the air, suspended in the rock. The large, because the stone, because this is in the part of the triway, right? And they've like excavated a ton of like the eastern star part of the triway that kind of carved into it, and like the part that they've been able to excavate has been mostly like the upper part, like here. That is about 15 feet to 20 feet up, and they've been keeping it set into the stone. Therefore, it has structural integrity and balance, and it's not and it won't crumble under its own weight. Does that make sense? So there's only like the surface of it. Same thing like when archaeologists dig dinosaur bones, and the dinosaur's laying on its side and it's down there. They carve up the bones, but they keep the sediment in between the rib cages and the rib bones, and then they slowly dust it out, and slowly, and sometimes they add supports because they don't know how fragile the bones are going to be, and they don't want to crumble under their own weight. So you really only are seeing like a two-dimensional kind of like there's a bit of a curvature out of it, but most of it is still in the stonework. You can certainly try to
If
go
it's
up
gonna be
there.
obvious, then I won't do it.
I mean, here's the deal. There's a lot of people working here, and they're all very, very busy, so it's entirely up to you. It is possible for you to get up to something, possibly nick something off, and grab it. Being unseen is going to depend on rules. Here's the deal. The larger bone... The larger bone of the massive creature that is visible, again, is set into the stone that's mostly overhead in like the corner up here. Then they kind of like dug a tunnel into like what assumed is like the back of this creature, where they found evidence of another humanoid creature there, and they only now excavated what looks like a one side of a leg bone up to like a hip bone. So they know that this thing was mounted on this creature possibly. And then they did smaller digging bones where it's like only about a 6-inch bore hole, where they were going in and went to see if they could find a skull to try to identify what this was. And what they came upon was the Chris being held up to the head. And that's why they were able to see the Chris and the skull, and that's weird. They were also able to find another humanoid that appears to be like almost like suspended in mid-animation, whether they're falling or standing or whatever, you don't know. That's far closer down to like floor level for you are. It slopes down a little bit before this other individual that wasn't mounted on this large creature. That appears to also be of this unidentified humanoid race. The mind flare was, it looks like they had bored a hole somewhere else, trying to extrapolate and estimate where the spine would have ended of this massive creature, but instead of finding a head or whatever, they found a mind flare skeleton in a position of defense or fright. And they are slowly, gradually, but surely excavating around very, 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 very carefully. These are skilled archaeologists. Everything here is very protected. So all like as soon as you enter like the cordoned off area, everybody like there's a reason why you're being chaperoned. Like,
Yeah.
People are like, don't step there, don't step there, don't step there.
So like
don't step
Log
there.
is still on the outside of the area. He would have to come in. Okay.
Yeah, and there's like there's actually like chalk squares that have been colored into the stone of like, this is where you can step. Don't step anywhere else, because like even a step in the wrong place could loose a piece of shale that could mess up a bunch of stuff. Because you're under a mountain, you're under tons and tons of rock. So if anything goes wrong, they could lose the whole dig.
As Shani is very aware of, we are
I mean,
under rock.
Granted, even
Yes,
if you
there's
had
a
melded
lot
into
of
stone, you can't see while you're in the stone. You can only see once your face is out of the stone.
See,
I mean, but you
my
could
first thought
jump
is
in
if
and feel for
they
stuff.
found that underneath, maybe
Okay.
the head.
I'm sorry, what?
My first thought, just me naturally, is if they found that where they thought maybe the head was, maybe the head's directly above it. It was about to be eaten by the creature.
Possibly, but again, that could take weeks, if not
Oh, yeah.
months, of more digging because it had to be every piece has to be carefully pulled because they don't know where.
You want to make sure that what you're taking out is rock and not bone.
Right.
Exactly, because you don't know what's right beyond the centimeter that you're working on, or the millimeter.
That's
that you're
me
working
knowing what I know, not Cole knowing what I know.
Right.
'Cause Cole's
But I
not
mean,
that smart.
this is pretty like especially for a dwarf with your stone cunning. This is like okay, yeah, I get this. Yeah, sometimes you have to be really, really, really careful with what it is that you're doing, especially when you're working with fragile stuff. So archaeology is not specifically your bailiwick, but you understand the basics.
Well, I also help Cameron with all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Could
Speaking
Can I roll
of, you
a
said
perception
College
check
of the
real quick?
Unearthed.
Yes, of course.
Do you have a colleague named Tamrin? Do you know of a colleague?
I can't say I know the name personally, not off the top of my head, but
He's,
again, we have been accepting new archaeologists and people that are looking to get involved.
We ran into him over in the Twin Isles a couple of months ago. Just curious. He was also investigating a collapsed temple that we found out there.
Oh,
If
and
you,
you said that he was part of the College of the Unearthed?
He was. Yes.
Well, that's fantastic. It's always good to see more archaeologists finding new digs and more information. Anthropology is a beautiful thing. Yes.
if you had met him, you would know. He looks like a giant blue kobold.
No, I don't believe I've seen a giant before. So
I don't think he was always that shape though, so she might have known him.
That's very possible.
I'm
We only
sorry?
knew him as the
He was a
giant.
He
different
said he
shape?
was transformed.
He used to be a halfling apparently, and then he became this.
He found something in one of his.
She pulls out
Digs?
a book and just starts scribbling like, fascinating.
Cole just like shrugs his shoulders. He's already got it down.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I know, but like this, she's
You-
it's a study
Oh, yeah,
of art.
it's
of,
exactly
like,
You
like me,
study
yeah.
history, yes. Have you
Yes,
heard
of
of?
course.
You've heard of dragons, obviously, but have you heard of?
to be clear, I'm an archaeologist, not an anthropologist. But yes,
Sure.
please continue.
Have you heard of Dragonkin or Dragonborn?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, there's the stories about how kobolds are somehow like related to dragons, or like because
In
dragons don't
between.
exist. But like people sometimes thought they saw a big the dragon, but it was actually just a giant lizard, or it was just a big kobold being nasty with shadow puppetry.
We have now met multiple of them, but there are. I don't know if they're
Multiple of
evolved
what?
kobold
I'll turn
or
into Cameron.
You turn into Tamron. You
Yeah.
Woo!
Like this.
specimen that I don't know if they're evolved
she like
kobold
pushes her spectacles back onto
or
her
what
head.
they are, but they are closer to
Big kobold. Big.
dragon kind than just the base.
Well, I mean, the word dragon kind doesn't really mean anything.
Well,
There's no such thing as dragons.
They believe they breathe like
No.
the dragons in stories.
Dragons are real.
We found a
I've been in one's
dragon
mouth.
skeleton.
His spear. Do
Yeah.
you see the tooth that makes the point of his spear? That was taken.
Do me a
from,
favor, because she's taking this in jest. Do me a favor and roll a persuasion check for me.
Open your mouth.
I always do, but I shouldn't. A 10.
Ow. Do you mind?
I mean,
Yeah,
just don't poke yourself with it, because that could like teleport you.
It's super sharp.
Okay. She pulls out like what appears unfolds something from her like overalls, her like archaeology overalls, that is like this wooden board. It's like a bamboo board that is a bunch of pieces of bamboo, so it rolls up and then it becomes flat and it's suspended around there. You know those cigarette
Roll top
vendors?
deck.
Yeah, you know
Roll
those,
top desk, but it goes.
yeah, it goes like yeah, and then so you know those cigarette vendors that have like the strand
Yeah.
around their neck. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that, except it's now like archaeology table.
Yeah.
And it's got a bunch of her tools, and so she pulls that out and she's like,
It's portable lap desk.
and she puts it on the table and she like takes a brush and she grabs a monocle and she starts like a gem and
I
starts
have-
looking at it. And
Either pronunciation is correct there.
I have an unaugmented. I have an unaugmented sample. If that would be a better.
Won't have the big stick attached to it.
and she's still got the thing in her face. She's like, I'm sorry?
An unaugmented sample, and I pull out the
Used dread.
unused
Oh,
Fang.
yeah, you could take this.
Take it back.
What
Might be easier to examine.
Well, this is for sure a very ancient tooth. I wish I had the equipment to carbon date this, but you say this is from a mythical
A dragon.
From a
Not
skeleton
bigger.
the size of a house.
We've got a bigger tooth also.
Bigger than that.
I know, but
Okay.
A man could stand. A man could stand upright inside of its mouth.
I did.
Technically, we all did.
Yeah.
Is that me?
I didn't.
She puts her spectacles back.
I would've
And
been.
where is it you said you found this?
Do you know of the Fothed ruins?
Yes.
Yes, about a day's travel south from
Ooh,
Sasa.
that doesn't really mean anything in the Fothed ruins.
No, it
Correct.
does
It
not.
seems that was part of
It
what
does
was
not.
causing the distortion.
The spatial distortions are.
You think it's this? You think? Wait. So
They-
you're telling me you think you found what makes the Fothed
No, no, no,
ruins
no.
the Fothed ruins?
We think the Fothed ruins have imbued the same spatial distortion into this creature.
Fascinating. Can I keep this?
No.
Can we have some of that?
Absolutely not.
Roll persuasion.
At least he's better in charisma.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Persuasion. Yeah, that's going to be a 6 because I rolled a 4.
Oh no! No.
Well, then
Absolutely
no.
not.
No.
I'm sorry. That has value to us. And I can't just.
I understand. Of course,
you
it was
take
your find. I don't want to steal it from you. That's why I asked.
I just.
So, you say this came from an actual dragon?
That was a very small tooth from its skull.
Do you want to show
Pull out
them
the sword.
Eleazar's sword?
We found teeth.
I'll pull the,
Fangs.
I forgot that I still had it. Yeah, so I'll pull out.
You pull out the
Eleazar's
sword. Oh,
We found
my.
fangs that were much even larger than
This is.
this specimen.
This is. I have to cut. This is.
You can't have this either.
No.
That's the reason.
Take a. Please.
The reason for our curiosity of your dig was we were wondering if the specimen we found was the same as the specimen you found.
Do you mind if I scrape up a little piece? Take a sample for testing?
If you have tools capable of doing so.
What do you mean?
It took adamantine
To carve.
to shape that
And
blade.
sharp.
You see, like her eyebrow goes up and her monocle falls to the bottom, falls out of it and like clatters onto her little bamboo table. Like,
An adamantine whetstone.
I
was
used
needed
adamantine to sharpen this.
to sharpen
this
thing.
is
We're also holding this for a friend until we can get it back to him.
We cannot trade you that as well.
the gods must be involved in this endeavor because we have had the same trouble trying to get samples from this skeleton.
Yes, which was why we were interested so much in what you had found. We were wondering if what we had found was similar in nature to what you had found.
So you're saying that you got this canine tooth.
Yes.
This is a tooth.
Yes.
Yes.
And these markings, they were found on the tooth as well?
They were
We
added.
made them. We made them with
The,
adamantine.
the creature,
You would deface
No.
such a beautiful
the
archaeological...
creature,
Oh,
the creature that
Oh, I
he turned
weep.
into, the creature that he turned into, is said to be descendant from these ancient great creatures, and he dedicated it to his
I'll turn
ancestors.
to Eleazar.
That's
so there's more than one of these things.
we have met more than one.
All right. So
And
The
This was our,
markings-
this
the
was our
markings are a
companion. This is who
dedication.
owns that sword.
The markings are a dedication to his ancestors.
all right. So let me get this straight. Your archaeologist friend, who was part of the
College of
the
Unearthed.
Unearthed, used to be a halfling,
And now he is
was transformed into
one of
a
these
dragon.
Turn back into tank.
Yes.
This is great. This is really helping.
We also traveled with a member of our party who was another member
Turn back
of
into
this,
Eleazar.
I love the visual.
another member of this species.
He was also a dragon king, and
He-
he's the one
He
that
was born
carved,
that way.
He
that
dedicated
defaced this beautiful archaeological.
we
artifact.
dedicated this to his
Dedicated
ancestors.
to his deity.
To his deity as a
And who
paladin.
is his deity?
One of the ancient
We don't
version,
know.
one of
We
what
don't.
you have found. One of
Do
these
we really
creatures.
know?
we don't really know that.
Yeah, because
We
he
assume.
never talked about Warm Blizzard with any of us.
You're
he just
right.
mentioned it where
didn't know
we could hear
But
it.
he, well, he
mentally.
named the sword Warm Blizzard, but we don't necessarily know.
Oh, I heard him praying to the warm blizzard. Before,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but you
not
don't know
that-
what the Warm Blade.
Right,
is.
exactly.
I mean, you can, of course, as characters, have your suspicions.
Right.
In your inklings, of course.
Would I know anything about what the warm blizzard was?
You can roll a history check at disadvantage.
Sounds like an opposite of your god.
It would.
Yes.
Okay. No.
So yes, he dedicated it to his deity, and which is what the symbols mean.
I understand, and as much as I appreciate religion and culture, it's still
Fair enough.
old.
Fair enough.
the markings are new and they're not as old as. Pick it together.
Just
Pick it together, Buckle.
So,
Okay,
Dragons?
so you're telling me this is a lot to process. Dragons are real. There are dragonkin. They have harvested pieces of dragons.
we have
and
evidence.
this might be a dragon.
We have evidence to suggest yes.
but we do have a tool that we might be able to scrape off some of your bone with.
You said you used adamantine whetstone.
Yes.
I have to admit, we don't have any adamantine tools.
Obviously, it would degrade the sample, which
Right.
we
course.
will not do without your permission. But
Well, I mean, you will not be handling it. We'll have one of our professional trained archaeologists use the adamantine tool to scrape off a tiny sample in order to be tested later.
as long as you understand that it's my whetstone.
Oh no, of course. I'd like stealing is against the university's like.
Just being
Like,
clear.
One of the second rules is that culture and history belongs to everyone. I would never take that from
Just
you,
being
of
clear.
course. No. If you
But
would
yes,
be gracious
if you
enough
wish
to
to
let us
test your
use
tool,
the tool,
yes.
I would put it in the hands of someone. Actually, I'll just do it myself.
Fair enough.
I didn't mean to
This is
offer up your tool.
That's fine.
And then when we go
It's my
off
dog
to check
bone.
on that piece of ore before we turn around and keep having
I
this
wasn't
conversation.
going to, I said
Okay,
we have
so
one, not necessarily have
This
one.
is a lot of information.
Just we're good at doing that to people.
I have to be complete as a student of science. I have to say that
These are revelations that we have only.
I'm having a tough time believing all of this.
This has only been 2 months worth of revelations for us. We have.
Granted, we did the Dragonborn one.
I'm a bit skeptical myself.
So
That
No,
is
last
the
time-
reason I
Actually,
haven't
2
sent
months
any
ago.
of this information back to the college yet. I'm just gonna say.
okay, because you're doubtful of your credibility.
Not doubtful of what all I know yet.
Conclusions.
Yes.
I understand. You don't want to.
No proof.
I don't want to have to redact the information I
I
sent
understand.
later.
You
You
want
know
to
how
make sure your
embarrassing that
sources
is.
are impeccable.
You know how embarrassing it is to take back information you've
Of
given to the
course.
college before.
You
It's
don't want to
horrible.
be a culprit. Of course, I understand. Yes, of course. That as is your right, and of course, I laud your diligence in that. Of course, it makes sense. Yes, you want to have multiple sources, and you want them to be credible sources, and you want to make sure that you're not publishing fake news.
Yeah.
Regardless, like, you know, at the very least, the bone can probably be scraped away with that. And regardless of what it is,
I mean,
And whatever
any
the
bit,
gods may
every
have
little bit
designed.
helps.
yeah.
Which
We just want to include you into our suspicions.
So, you're saying, 1, dragons are real. 2, that's probably a dragon. 3, you saw another one in the Fothid ruins. And 3, or I'm sorry, 4. Sorry, I have a little.
I feel you. I feel you. Like,
Why do you feel me? Why are you touching me?
He's
He feels things.
Oh,
He's. Don't worry about him.
counting can be difficult.
I'm sorry. I take things literal sometimes. Sorry. So, all right. This is a lot.
Keep an open mind.
So, do you know what these unidentified humans are?
No.
Could I take a
I'll
look at
turn
it a little
to,
closer?
Grandpa.
How about this? If you lend me the use of your tool to take a sample of these bones, I would be happy to personally chaperone you to examine them yourself. However, as I said, please don't touch anything.
Log,
It's very
can you
important
stay
for you not to
outside?
touch anything.
He was.
Actually, he's been really helpful. If he could stay
No.
nearby.
No, that seems like
Yeah,
that's
I'm helping. I'm helping.
No, that's a.
Cole's just gonna go like this.
You
as
were
soon
about
as
to
he
do
says
something.
that.
So
Do
we're
it.
like,
Wait,
I
so
think
yeah,
that's
I turn to Grandpa Lumley.
Cruel.
Or Grandpa Cruel. Yeah.
yeah, Grandma, Granny
Yeah,
Lonely.
like, I don't
Yeah.
see that got so stuck
Yeah,
in
yeah.
it. But yeah,
You
Grandpa
turn to
Cruel.
Grandpa Cruel. Grandpa Cruel was an
Right.
illithid.
Yeah.
You turn into a mind flare?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but like with the hair and the like.
Okay, but you turn into. Okay, just. Are you sure?
She's seen me turn into multiple.
I know,
other
I know.
things.
I'm just. Okay.
Log, are you helping right now? I think Log's helping.
So you turn into a pretty apparent, obvious mind flare.
Yeah.
In front of all these people. Kenton's over there like shit.
Yeah,
Um,
he's not the only one.
He's,
Don't worry.
he's helping. Stop. Let him help.
I don't want to fight all these people.
What the fuck is gonna happen? Okay,
They've seen him changing shapes. Like,
Yeah, I've changed multiple
don't
times
justify
already.
your decisions with me. I understand what's gonna happen.
Well, plus it's an illusion, so they'll be able to tell.
Right.
They'll be able
You're
to tell.
saying that the mental creature wouldn't be able to make himself appear like other creatures in front of them until he shows himself.
Right. Okay, so here's the deal. So you turn into Grandpa Cruel. Okay. There are gasps among the workers as some of them, and a bunch of them. These are archaeologists, not fighters. A third of them just start running.
Wait.
The other third are petrified, terrified, and aren't able to move. Bagra herself, her form laxes and a bunch of her archaeological equipment spills off of her desk and it falls to the ground. And she's
Hold on. It's still the same guy. He's not an illithid.
Rain Wilson.
Ray, wait, who's that look like? Who's
Dwight.
Rainbow.
Dwight
from the
Office.
That was just a demonstration, just, you know.
you asked if we knew what the
Don't
creatures...
do that again.
Please come back. He was just trying to help.
Solution.
Roll a persuasion check.
You asked us if we knew what the creatures were. He was trying to
We know what they are.
illustrate.
Well,
You know
that-
what the unidentified humanoids are?
No, that's
Well,
the other
the
one.
prey.
No, of course we know what the prey is.
Yes. The riders.
31.
Yes, a natural 20, 31.
31. You say, please come back. It was only a joke. There's like, or like whatever, like, and they're like, and they're like, you get that look from your friend or like from your wife when you scare the shit out of her, and she's like, you piece of shit, you fucking piece of shit. Like, I'm gonna
I'm just gonna
get you
keep
for
pointing
this
at him
one.
like,
Yeah.
that was him.
They all come back like waving their pickaxes at like you piece of shit. Like, I'm gonna get you for this one. Like,
I turned into a bugbear. And then back.
You turn
Does-
yourself.
turn into a bugbear.
Well,
Turn into yourself.
Right. I mean, they're just saying me just
Okay,
do
roll
shit.
an intimidation check for me.
Well, I'm just doing.
I know you're not trying
yeah.
to, but I'm just trying to see how.
Do not have calm emotions prepared today.
Do
But,
any of
it
you
was funny. They all ran away, and now I'm gonna just show my true self.
do any of you recognize the description of the rider?
Well,
No.
that's why I wanted to take
I
a
did
closer
not.
Right,
look.
we're gonna get to that.
That's gonna be a
I
13
rolled for that. I did not.
because I only rolled an 8. So 13.
13. Okay.
I'm not trying to be scary.
I know you're not trying to be scary. It's just that bugbears have a reputation,
Right.
and it's extremely unfortunate, but they do, and it's something that we have to acknowledge because people are going to react a certain way due to what they have learned. It's a learned behavior, but it's what they've learned.
They just saw me as my
Most of them are like, they just like, they think it's another joke.
because it is.
Yeah, right. They think it's like they have this whole the boy who cried wolf kind of deal. Like, they look at you like, some of them look at you like,
Back to Rain Wilson.
okay. But mostly they just get back to work, and you get some like, you know, side shade eyes every once in a while. These are purely scientists who are good at one thing: archaeology. They're not fighters. They're not like the most courageous individuals. They're out here to do a job. Granted, being out here where they're doing their job, they understand it's dangerous, and they'll do whatever it is that they can take, they need to do in order to get the information and the culture and the histories that they're going to do. But they're not going to just stick around a mind flare. it's standing there.
Right.
Yes.
I don't think any of us recognize the rider creature without
No, that's been, I guess, a
further
court of contention.
investigation.
Yes, of course. We don't have anything recorded of such individuals or humanoids. Probably as a new species entirely. Probably something that died out or evolved to a point, and we no longer have record of it. Perhaps something that is now extinct.
Is there anything in the primordial stuff I've learned about old species of people?
Well, you already rolled your history check.
No, I didn't.
That was me.
You rolled your history check at disadvantage.
Oh, at disadvantage. Yeah, that was for something else, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
What was it for?
That
Yeah,
was for
that's-
Eleazar's god.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I rolled a disadvantage for the. I rolled
Sure,
history
sure.
for the
Yeah, you
creature.
can go
and
ahead
failed.
and roll another history check.
Because that was.
Actually, you can roll a history
No,
check too, but
fine.
you're the only ones that can roll history checks, and it is a fucking hard
It's okay,
DC.
I rolled a nat one.
Okay. Not only do you not... What's the total then?
5.
5. So not only do you not know what that is...
It's an elf. I don't care.
yeah, that's the thing. You think, oh, it's an elf. I don't give a shit. but then you have like, then you're like Miladonith though. And then you're over there in your corner, just kind of like having conflicted
Well,
feelings.
would I be able to also make a history check given some of the other crazy shit I've seen in my lifetime?
Actually, no.
Okay.
We'll get to that once you start examining it physically.
Okay.
Okay, I'll say that.
16.
16
Which isn't going to work.
Unfortunately, no. Doesn't nothing that you have ever heard of. At least the description of what she is saying, because you guys haven't approached it yet.
Yeah.
The description of what she's describing, I mean, the thing that comes to your mind is like, it's when somebody's trying to describe something, you go like, oh yeah, you ever seen this? And you're like, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, but you have no fucking clue what they're talking about. You think that she's describing like a wood elf, or like a drow maybe, or maybe a subspecies of one of those two sub-races.
But she would be able to identify
and it's-
that.
But
So
but the
it's
fact that
obviously
she's not able to identify it means that it's not those things. So you were out.
I mean, it doesn't even appear in like the stories and stuff like that for me or anything like
no,
that.
well,
which
at least
is-
none of the ones that you are aware
Yeah.
of, right, or have studied.
I would assume that you mentioned you had carbon dating. Have you been able to figure out at least the age of the rocks around here?
Yes. Well, yes and no. It looks to be that. This is one of the things that the College of Unearth have struggled with for a very, very long time. I need you to do me a favor and roll an intelligence check.
Okay.
Because she's about to explain something to you, and it's going to depend on whether you actually have the capacity to understand what she's going to say.
Well, it's a 12.
12. Okay.
Can
No.
Sure.
I mean, just being a smart boy, can I try to
you can be a
understand what
smart
she's
boy,
saying?
sure. Especially since you're an underground boy, too. Sure.
Right.
Well,
What-
roll
what-
to examine that.
So, no.
What about my
Uh,
stone
yes,
history?
70.
Roll an intelligence check.
Come on.
You don't get to add your stone history to it.
Oh, that one.
Another nat one! Oh, no. Okay, so
Oh, you're
this is going
way
to
too
be...
distracted.
So,
Bad luck from last time.
she explains this a lot more complicated than I'm going to explain it to you, but this is what you understand from what she's saying.
Okay.
And I'll just role play it for you. The mystery of the Razorfang mountain range has been one of the big pillars of mysteries of the College of Unearth since its conception. Of course, it's been one of the mysteries of how the Razorfang mountain range formed and how it became to be since time immemorial. But it's become far more of a focus of the College of the Unearth since it doesn't make any sense. There's no tectonic plates here. It shouldn't have happened. It doesn't make any sense that there's a mountain range here at all.
Right.
There's no forcible tectonic plates that would have got pushed together and then forced a mountain range to come up. At least not from any of our excavations that we've discovered. So that being said, the entire region, this whole mountain range, is a mystery, and that is one of the things that we hope to discover at some point. That's one of our the big mysteries is like why is the sky blue? Well, we know why the sky is blue, but why like. Why do let's out of character? It's more of like in our world, like why do singularities exist? Why do black holes exist? Like what was the
The great
creation of the
scientific
universe?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one of the great questions of this
What's
world
the
is like
moving-
where the how the fuck and why the fuck and when
Who
the
the
fuck
fuck?
did the Razorfang mountain range come to be? Because it doesn't make archaeologically geological sense. So that is obviously on the back burner as it was because it's one of those things that we possibly could never solve. However, that being said, in our processes of trying to figure out how old the mountain range is, we found that it is far older than we thought.
Okay.
We thought that perhaps, a couple million years ago, or who knows, or perhaps it was maybe seeing as the tectonic plates don't work, perhaps one of the gods decided, hey, there's going to be a mountain range here on a whim, and they just became there. However, it predates, from what we know of our old texts, the presence of Moradin in any of our texts. And At least we would assume that it might be Mord. But our history only goes back so far. So all we know is that it predates a lot of our information. So it could. So all the evidence points to that it should be a naturally occurring geological event that would have happened during, like, the formation of the planet and as it started shifting and all that things. But
It's not.
it's not. It can't be because there's no plates there.
Right.
Cole's gonna lean over to Argus and go, "Could this be a result of the sacrifice?" Because Cole did hear that last time.
Oh, when you were talking about the primordial stuff.
Yeah,
No, they had the book from the
Right,
book and
right,
everything. Yeah,
it's always a possibility.
yeah.
I would stem more primordial
Just-
than anything.
So, that being said, seeing as it's in the mountain range in this part, all our cursory overview of dating it, be it magically and scientifically, has pointed it to it happening after the formation of the mountain range, but not very long.
Right.
Pre-civilization.
Because the lava or the cave-in, well, again, we don't know. We don't have records that go down that far.
Pre-Razer Fang.
Yeah.
Well,
Or-
no. It's very close to the surrounding rock of the formation of the Razer Fang, or at least or the surrounding rock of the Razer Fang as a whole, from what we were
So
able to
I'm-
tell. But
so
then
I
again,
mean
it's a guesstimation. Hold on, one more.
Pre-agreement.
Oh yeah.
Yes, pre-agreement. Yes, of course. Yes.
Pre-settlement of this area.
Yes, very much so pre-agreement. So much so that it looks like it didn't happen within a span of a few thousand years.
Ages. This is
Anywhere
ages
between decades to a few thousand years after the formation of the Razer Fang mountain range itself. Pre-agreement, pre-civilization in the mountain range.
This is
itself.
ages old.
Yes, this eons. Before the dwarves and the gnomes started recording their history at all.
Yes.
Before this entire area was even excavated.
Yes.
Pre-even war then.
Oh, very much so. Because the gnomes and the dwarves existed long before the gnomes, the dwarves, the elves existed long before the war.
They all did
So we're
before
talking
that,
about
so.
very long ago. Before even the northern and southern dynasties imperiously conquered the Twin Isles. We're talking like way. We're talking about like what could possibly be in the Ides of the Elven Empire or before. Very, very, very old. Something that I have my suspicions. It could be even possible before the gnomes and the dwarves were ever even in this mountain range. Perhaps before their evolution into what it is that they are now.
Our theory, just so that we're on the same page, dragons may not be the myth that we believe them to be. We have some evidence that they are not. So the creature you have found fits the myth. It could be what we suspect it to be. We're not saying it is, we're saying it could be.
It's a theory.
It's our current theory.
But,
That's all history is. It's a theory until it's proven. So
Correct.
A
Well,
lead is appreciated. So thank you. Yes.
I have this really large scale that I found in my travels, and I pull out that matte black
Right.
scale too, and just like, this is part of it. I mean,
Do you
this might
mind?
be part of it, yeah. And,
It's a little heavier than I thought. When she just puts it on the ground, I don't think I can hold it. This is remarkable. Where did you find this?
in the northern wastes in between Kmisk and Kirstad.
Kamis and Kirkgard.
I found it on my way on my travels from my hometown to
This
the Water
is-
College.
This shows. Hold on. And she pulls out her little thing and she examines it further.
I'm going to pull out the map.
And she examines it further. And she takes a moment to examine it. This isn't identical, but this is absolutely, without a doubt, related to
An indention
of
of
this
what you found.
something. Yes.
Well,
This
and-
is absolutely some sort of subspecies or cross evolution or something. These are, and you
I'm-
found this.
Our silver friend showed us that it looked like his scale.
Just larger.
This is amazing. Okay, so we need to catalog all of this information because we could possibly just stumble across the most important discovery of the millennia. never mind the decade or the century. The millennia.
Where's the map?
The little.
Oh, it's in
Did
my
you-
backpack upstairs.
Which your backpack's right there. The gray backpack right to your right, Adam.
It's also on Discord
behind-
if you want to just
behind
pull it
you?
up.
Behind
Behind you.
This one. It's between the two books. Actually, hand me those books too.
Correct, correct me if I'm wrong, but where you say you found it is in direct line of the mountain range.
Yeah, it was somewhere near the mountain range, but north
We
of
found
it.
it in the northern wastes, which is a little bit west of the mountain.
Yeah,
We found our species south of the mountain range.
right.
This species is in the mountain range. If you connect those dots, they follow
The mountains.
the Razer fangs.
Right. Do you think perhaps there was maybe a line of these creatures doing something at the time?
I'm wondering if they're.
That's
They-
merely theory again at this point. That
I
piece
wonder
of
if their
information
presence
triggered
even
something.
potentially led to the existence of this range.
Okay, so we need to catalog all this information. This is highly important. Possibly dragons are real. Possibly dragons have been found.
A creature similar to our myth of dragons existed.
Yes,
At
yes,
one
of
point
course,
in
because
history.
the idea of actual dragons existing is ridiculous.
Well,
But
Our silver friend could breathe frost like a dragon.
and one of the myths around dragons say that they were attuned to specific elements.
elements, yes, of course. This is fascinating.
So, another piece of my theory,
Where is your silver friend?
he's lost.
Where's your blue friend?
He's
the
off
Twin Isles.
on doing his archaeological.
He's alive.
thing.
He is a member of your college.
Can he come see me?
Now, probably not. Do you have a method of teleportation?
We have yet to get to that.
Exactly.
That we're working on a Kickstarter right now.
He's in the Twin Isles. If you have a means to get to him, feel free to question him. But for the moment, he is unavailable.
If I were to send message to him magically, would he be able to
Yes.
respond?
Yes.
Great.
We have spoken with his group.
I have seen what he looks
On
like.
multiple
What is
occasions.
his full name?
Tamarind Grounder. I believe.
Perfect. That should be enough information for me to send him. If I tell him that I know you, will he?
Yes, the Argent Flame is the name of our group.
Great.
He will know
The Argent
of
Flame.
us.
Great. I'll make sure I put accreditation to you in my notes here.
He will be able to corroborate at least his portion of this.
Fantastic. Having a living descendant of a fossil could be monumental to my research.
We believe that they are lesser, yes, devolved forms of these great creatures.
Of course,
yes?
I mean, but any genealogical connection is because that will prove that they at any time existed at one point because we have their ancestors or we
Yes.
have their descendants. Correct?
If we prove this,
He was changed magically.
depending on
so
how we prove this, we're gonna make.
He was the once the
kobolds
halfling?
Very happy.
That's
The other-
Our
other
friend-
one
Our
was-
friend was.
Did you know how?
No,
I-
he
well,
didn't really talk about it.
He did not reveal.
He said he
anything.
met
Right.
somebody and they changed him. He wasn't clear on
Did
who
he
he
tell
met.
us that, or was that?
Yeah, no, he did mention that. Yeah,
I think he met a member of.
I know. That's why I'm trying.
Whether-
not to,
She
that's
keeps
why
like
it's
fiddling
so,
with
like,
a dirt pick that she's like moving
Did
around.
mention-
Whether
Yeah.
spiritually or
They
not,
used to
I think
get
he
half.
mentioned he met
They
a
got
member of
changed.
the
Did
greater
mention that.
species, and they granted him the form that he currently occupies.
He met a live dragon.
I don't know if it was alive or whether it was more of a spiritual connection.
Right. Or like maybe another plane or something. We don't
Why don't you ask him?
Hence
He
the
would have
reason
his own answers.
I intend to.
Hence the reason I said he met someone.
He somehow interacted with something that transformed
This is-
him into that creature.
This is a lot. This is a lot.
I
This is
understand.
fantastic.
I
Okay.
understand.
This is stupendous. This could be the greatest discovery ever.
Ever, yes.
Like ever.
In current history, yes.
Wow. Okay. Please let me take all of your names down so I know who to accredit for certain information. Of course, I would love to get more correspondence with you. I'm sure you're busy. You look like you're travelers, adventurers, but I'd love to get more information from you. Perhaps do interviews at some point. as long as you believe that this information is credible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of it with our own eyes.
Yes, all of it we have seen with our own eyes.
Well, other than
I
Timeless
would love to see
transformation.
it with my own eyes, of course, but
Of course,
We showed you both.
you have a specimen in front of you potentially.
I mean, well, that's an
I-
illusion, but
One thing
We're
I
talking
must
about the one in the wall.
yeah, no, yes, of course, yes. This,
One thing I
it's-
must
it's-
mention.
but all of the ancillary information.
if this creature is in fact attuned to a specific element, if you disturb its remains, as we were discussing before with the whetstone, there's potential for unexpected
Let's just say we were
releases
teleported when we.
of
You
that element.
sound as though you're speaking with it from experience.
The specimen we found
When we were harvesting the teeth.
when our friend
What
was
our friend was.
when our
Yes.
friend was harvesting the teeth, he was in fact
Sent
affected.
underground.
He was affected by the skeleton.
He was teleported into the air,
To the ground.
somewhere else,
Right.
under the ground.
Teleported.
Yes.
That could have been the Fothed Ruins spatial distortions, or it could have been the creatures, but we are not.
We're telling you
Sure.
to be careful.
So
And
you
the-
are saying that there is a connection between the nature of these ancient creatures, that there are remnants of their power within their remains.
Yes,
And that it actually has a
There is magic.
potentially.
effect
It's
upon
another theory that
the
we have not
locale.
proven.
Not all of them.
did you-
Perhaps
We are
some.
not sure if
That's our theory.
we are not sure if its remains affected the locale or the locale affected its remains.
I can't remember. Did we cast Identify on the remains?
We didn't.
Okay.
But we have remain here.
But we are sure that the remains are elementally empowered.
Yes. Identify, unfortunately, has been proven to not really give us too much information. However, we are in the process, like I said, we have a Kickstarter, trying to get more funding in order to bring one of the more arcane gifted. Our aim is actually to grab one of the people from the House Ehrenbach from the city of Sarnla, from the Lithuanian Confederacy, that is well versed in the arcane. That has the
turns
has the
out
Do
capability.
you know their name?
Wait 1 second. That has the ability to cast a spell called Legend Lore, which will give us a lot more information of these things. However, they require certain compensation, which is entirely understandable because it is a very taxing spell. So we are not quite there yet.
Yeah, I turned to Emrys. And to
You
see
know what his face looks like.
Well, I would turn to what I.
So you just turn into a cloaked.
No, we.
Yeah, I mean,
Do
we
you
got
know the
this.
name
We
of
were
the-
close.
Never
We
saw.
Yeah, we did.
We
No,
did.
no, no.
We
Even
You
saw
saw
under-
like a third of his face
okay.
revealed with like tears coming down.
Okay.
Right.
Like,
Well, and we also saw the ears one time.
you saw the ears, yeah,
You
but
were
you,
literally
but
in
you
front of him fighting him.
yeah,
I mean, I was literally right next to him.
possibly magically enhanced. That's true, but you don't know what his pure face is. So
But you could still show it torn.
you could
Yeah, I
you
mean, I
could
could-
transform into what it is that you saw.
Do you know the name of this
So I'll do
Ehrenbach that
that.
you're supposed that you're trying
But
to
I mean,
hire?
he still dresses in a very particular way. And I'm just gonna see if they recognize.
What's this one then?
If this is who shows up, run.
Do you know the name of the Ehrenbach that you're trying to hire?
Oh, Lady Masha.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
You should be okay.
We've just had some issues with someone who
There's potentially a lesser member of the family
Guys,
causing
don't talk
issues.
about that. No.
Just we run in. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You have.
If it looks
There's-
like this person,
There's some
run.
political things that we
Well,
have
I mean, I
discovered,
can't really see
and we're
what the
not
face-
trying
Fair
to.
enough.
This is all we gotta
Lon,
see.
leave it alone.
There is some political
Well, there.
intrigue that we've discovered, and we're not trying to spread the rumors or be accused of being spies.
All right.
taking one step back, you mentioned, of course, we were talking about
Don't
the
like
elemental
telling
magic.
people not to trust the Ehrenbachs.
We were talking about the elemental magic inherent in these things. Obviously, those bones from the ones that we found in the ruins are magical. If that is the case, then this creature would also be magical, and there's no magical when somebody's trying to do the spell detect magic, that hasn't been showing up as detect magic, or it hasn't been showing up as a magical energy of some sort or another.
Well, as a conduit of the unearthed, I am well versed in the spell detect magic, as many of the artifacts that we discover, well, not many, but some of the artifacts that we discover, especially the old ones, can sometimes be magically enhanced and therefore called magical items. Those are obvious, yes, the ones that show up with said spell. However, creatures that are inherently magical, it could go either way.
The sword we have and the spear crafted from our friend here did not show as magical either until they were crafted into
That
finished
makes
items.
sense. The circumstance probably takes a place in that. Yeah,
So then
absolutely.
if
That
we
makes entirely
had a
complete logical
sample,
sense.
if we had a sample and crafted like a little dagger,
Glyph
let's say,
or something
glyph, something,
from it.
then perhaps we can test the theory that it is at least
So you're asking to take a sample of this possible dragon
it could
fossil,
it could
created a weapon from it.
or just a little stone, right? That has like a glyph on it. It's just something. It would test the theory.
Sample.
It would test the theory of whether or not it's the same specimen.
How?
Okay.
You could just
Sokka's
be a letter
like-
opener for me.
My warning was merely if you intend to affect the samples in any way, perhaps some precautions would be prudent.
You're saying that it has posthumous defense capabilities.
It's possible.
If our friend was teleported for merely affecting the skeleton that we found, perhaps the element imbued within this creature could affect
Interesting.
anyone, a technician.
So what you're saying is that it is inherently magical that wouldn't be detected by a magical effect
Yes,
that detect magic,
naturally.
but it still could nevertheless affect you.
Correct.
Okay.
Elementally imbued naturally with its element, not magically.
Roll everybody as a group. Please roll a persuasion check.
Rolling so great.
Oh, great.
Yes, I know.
Is that persuasion?
Oh,
I really like.
but I do want to lock
today.
minds with Log and go, Log, don't say bad things about the admin box. We know one of them's pissed. Let's not piss off the rest of them.
But wasn't your master the one who said that they're all bad?
Yeah, and only one of them has attention on us right now. Do you want one of them,
Do you
including the
want-
ones that have your mother?
Yeah, she doesn't like any of them either.
Yeah. So are we gonna piss off the ones that are holding her captive, where they can just stab her?
They're gonna do what they're gonna do to her anyway. I mean, she's been their slave for years now.
Right. And we hadn't pissed them off yet. What happens when we piss them off?
They should be pissed off. I'm pissed off.
I'm honestly like long style.
And Cole's just going, oh
If
god,
I'm
I'm
pissed
doing
off,
the
they
5
should
and
be
6
pissed off.
debate again with Log.
Okay.
Try to
13.
cut 'em
Zemdak
together.
13.
12.
12 for Sokka.
I rolled a 10, so 21.
21.
I rolled a nat 20, 24.
Ooh!
15.
15.
I rolled a 3 so far.
5. Okay, so pretty middle of the road. Those two's kind of saved you. Here's the deal.
Like 3 nat 1s. Kind of giving it out there.
Argus, please roll an insight check. Since you're the most insightful here. Oh, actually, Sofka, you can too.
Rolled a 10. 17.
Oof.
I'm pretty insightful too.
Are you proficient?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can do it then too. Those proficient in insight can roll.
What did I get?
Not that it matters.
13.
13.
17.
I rolled 2, so 8.
8. Argus, you guys are just like, you just see her thinking. You don't know what's going on for her head. You are like, all this information is a lot.
Just probably feel like
You are not certain that she believes you, but as is someone who's devout to the history of archaeology and anthropology and studying the past, her curiosity is getting the better of her. So it's not that she's inclined to believe you as much as she wants to believe you and wants it to be true, just because it could be a massive discovery. And her curiosity is driving her to be like, okay, this has become one of my new focuses now, because what if? And so she definitely doesn't believe you off the bat. It's just not going to happen. But she has given it enough of her attention that she's, okay, how can I prove this?
With proper precautions, I'm willing to let you use my tool to try and affect the skeleton.
Sure, I'll log that. The other thing that you understand as well is that you're getting the sense from her that of you telling her something about how this skeleton fossil, innately magical, long since dead creature could be imbued with some sort of elemental or some, maybe not elemental, but just some sort of paradigm of magic that can affect those that interact with it. She doesn't act surprised when you say that to her. Almost as if, possibly.
Or something's happened that kind of clicks now in her brain.
I mean, if they had removed any of the bones,
It's possible that they've already.
could have triggered.
And Gizmo, you and I are going to look at the... Boots. Aren't you and I going to look at the Chris real quick, too?
Yes, of course. I believe you three individuals are the ones that wanted to... yes, I'll have...
I'll hand the bone to
look
Argus.
I'll have Pennyworth take you over. He's really... What? What's so funny?
Is it okay if my owl comes with me too? He helps me see things sometimes. He's very little.
Sure. As long as he doesn't try to eat the bones.
Pennyworth
No.
doesn't have a red balloon.
Just keep him on your shoulder.
He,
Very wise. I
if
know,
it's
that's what I'm saying.
if it's up too high, he might fly.
Oh, no. We have a ladder.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes, of course.
Yes, we're fine.
No, we're all... I mean, look at me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So I just want to be clear. Pennyworth does not have a red balloon attached to them, right?
No.
He's not
Isn't
trained as
that's Pennywise.
I know.
He's
but
not
that's why
trained
I
as a
started
butler.
laughing my ass off.
an ex-special forces agent.
No.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Not that I know of. You talking about Moneypenny?
No, Bruce Wayne's
Bruce Wayne's butler.
butler.
Oh, Alfred Pennyworth.
Yes.
Shit. No, that's just his last name.
Fair enough.
You're not racist, are you?
No,
Okay, good.
just names.
As long as you're not an elf, he's fine.
Names sometimes
Very
have meaning.
nice.
Just curious.
No, he's just he just his family likes to like pinch their
doesn't say
pennies
nothing
and
about
count
half
there,
elves,
make
just
sure
half
like
elves.
everything. Is,
Fair enough.
at least the older generation did. It's just kind of
read my
anyway.
notes. You know
I'm
how
not
I
going
should
to
go.
examine the etymology of his
We're-
family name for you. He's a talented archaeologist.
gonna
and
help
that's all
us.
you should judge him for.
He's gonna help us investigate.
Yes, he's a very talented
fine.
archaeologist, and you should respect him. This is actually he's the one that's been specifically working on the Chris, so you will give him the utmost respect. Is that understood?
Pull out
Of
a
course.
metal dog bone, and I'm gonna hand it to Argus.
No. That's what I'll be using
Yes,
to
I'll
make
hand
a
it to you.
sample.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know if you.
While
actually
you
said
go examine the Chris.
Yes.
The information that you've given me is much appreciated. I need to log all of this, and I would very much appreciate if you had time for me to take your individual interviews or stories and accounts of these. Do you have any opposed to me
I think
citing you as my sources for this information?
I think we can
and
spend the rest of the
possibly
day.
being published?
I personally have no issue with that at all.
Of course. Are surnames allowed? It would really help the publication.
Yes.
Sure. Great. Wonderful. Yes.
I will. I don't really have one.
Yes, you do.
I know, but I made it up.
They're all made up. That's a name.
I mean, as reticent as our friend is, she was not
Where do you think the
present.
last name Fletcher came from?
She met our friend.
Oh, well then, I mean, if you weren't present during any of this information,
I just met Eleazar, the big dragon dude.
The silver one.
of course, this isn't compulsory. It's
Okay.
entirely voluntary. So,
I will not do that.
as is your right.
You also haven't seen too many.
I know.
of the
So-
situations.
She holds that this is fascinating. It's a little doggy bone.
Yeah.
Did you make this little doggy bone?
I did not. It was a gift.
A gift from who?
Don't go there. You don't want to know.
Granny only.
Very.
For real? God damn it, Lon. For real? Every time I have to stop the fucking role play and be like, are you sure?
Yes.
All the things they
He's
see
sure.
me turn into, like, they shouldn't be surprised by now.
She's just an old lady that looks remarkably. Do you transform into Granny Lily?
Yeah, I mean, they've seen me turn into a bugbear, a mind flayer.
I mean, yeah, you're getting this Boy Who Cried Wolf effect now. So
Well, that's why I'm not worried about it.
So
They're-
right, you
they
still
should be
get
used
some
to it.
reactions of being like, "Why would you do that?" People are
Granted,
like,
that's a reaction normally. For
Yeah.
Oh, log.
like people like look and be like, "Why do you have extra elbows and knuckles and fingers?" Like,
You can tell we are adventurers. Yes, we have met
yes, of
some.
course. You're saying this is something you encountered.
We have met some odd characters along our journey.
Could you not do that?
One of them,
Rainn Wilson.
Thank
one
you.
of them, gifted me this piece in exchange for
That thing,
no, the bone,
that thing gave you this thing.
in exchange for a gift that I gave to it.
Maybe I don't want to.
It is fine.
It's just adamantine.
It is adamantine. It is exactly as it
This
appears
is-
to be.
It was a gift given in goodwill.
Yes.
Okay, I will be handing this back to you as soon as I'm done with it.
Yes, you will.
While that's happening, Pennyworth escorts Trisheni, Cole, and Boots up to. So they're, like I said, it's pretty much to this creature's back, or as much as they can assume that is this creature's back. They've only uncovered about 2 spinal discs because of how large they are. And then they bore smaller holes to try to see if they could find more about it. And what they found was the leg and the hip bone, like I said, of this humanoid creature that they weren't able to identify. Now, then they bore a smaller hole trying to see if they could find, oh shit, there's a humanoid here. Assuming based on the length of the leg, this is how tall they would be. Let's see if we can bore a hole to see if we can find the head.
Yeah.
And so they did. They bore a small hole, only about 4 to 6 inches in diameter, that went up towards the head. And what they found was a kriss pulled right up, not up against, but near the cheekbone and the head, of which they weren't, of the species they weren't able to identify.
Preparing for a strike.
So there is about something like that, yeah, pulling the kriss back. So the kriss is a jagged wavelength type dagger.
S width, like S curve.
Yep, S curve dagger, and they have 2 ladders that go kind of zigzaggy up to this individual. And what happens is that this hole is only big enough for a small creature like a gnome or a halfling to really get both their hands in order to work tiny little details. For you, most of you except for you, Zemdak, you will only be able to put one hand in to see if you can see it, but you're not allowed to touch it.
Nope.
You're only allowed to see through it. However, it is because of its they're not able to put a lantern in there. So they sometimes some of these archaeologists, 2 or 3 of them, including what's her name? Bagra has the access to the light cantrip, and sometimes they put it in a little stone and put the stone in there. And she goes you'll need this, and she casts light on a tiny little pebble and she hands it to you.
I've got one.
Oh, great, fantastic. So yeah, just by the nature of this tunnel, you won't be able to see it without some light. But you go in there. Who's going up first?
I will.
Okay, Cole, you up the ladders. Once you get to the top part where you can see, you're gonna have to hunch over just because it's not meant for taller people like you. There are some humans there, but they haven't been doing the super delicate work because the people with the smaller hands are doing the super
Right.
So you head up there. You grab Zemdak's trinket. You kind of slide it into there, and the chaperone's no, that's it. Don't go any farther than that.
Mm-hmm.
And you look in and you see this kriss of odd stone, or you're not sure what it's made out of, and this skull that you can't place. You can see some relation to some elven stuff, but it doesn't make any sense. Do me a favor.
Yeah.
and roll a history check.
I mean, I'm assuming we all take turns.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's
You want
going
us-
first.
okay.
It's just that because of the space,
Sure.
only one person can be on the
Right.
ladder at a time.
8.
8.
Worse than the worst one. First one.
You nothing is coming to mind. You have no idea what this creature is. You have no idea what this Chris is made out of. It just looks like something entirely new discovery that could be anything.
I figured I wasn't gonna know, but I wanted to get the smart people over here.
But it's fascinating.
Yeah, really cool. Cole's taking notes. Like it looks
You
really
can see
cool.
that the teeth within the jaw of the creature appear to be sharpened. Like not sharpened, like it's appear they grow sharp. They weren't like sharpened after the fact.
Goblin teeth.
Not needle-like goblin teeth. 'Cause goblins have like hundreds of needle-like teeth in their mouth.
Is
This
it more of like a predator's mouth where it's mostly like meat?
No,
teeth,
it's
or-
actually it looks like a
humanoid
human's
teeth.
mouth,
Just sharpened.
but they're sharp.
Oh,
like filed down to points.
But not.
But not by
But they
fire.
grow that way.
yeah.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah.
You know, good.
He just gave up on that one.
I'll get it later. Sorry.
Great. Okay. That's
I
you
go
were
back
able-
down and let the two smart people go up.
okay. Who's going up next? Tosheni or Zembek?
You can if you want. to.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not smart otherwise.
Zembek, you
I know what I am.
go up there. The cool thing is that you're small enough to be able to reach both of your hands in there if you need to reposition the light. But of course, Pennyworth is saying like that's far enough. Like no farther than that.
Fair enough.
Just don't touch it. Be very very careful.
Pull down my goggles.
Yep.
Like flick down the little magnification lenses, and I'm gonna cast Fox's Cunning, enhance ability on myself.
Okay. Go ahead and roll a history check for me. I guess it's at advantage, right? 'Cause I'm
13.
13. You're able to discern that what she noticed before, the oral cavity, where the ear would be attached, does, from what you understand of gnomes and elves, give heed to the fact that it could have been a long pointed ear at some point. But that's what you discern. Other than that's the only additional information you discern from what Cole was able to discern.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Can I look at the Chris?
The Chris appears to be made of some sort of odd ore, stone, or metal. You're not sure.
Alloy? Okay.
That's the thing. Like, you have no idea. This material is. You're not sure if it's stone or ore or like it could be an alloy. It could be something. No, it doesn't fall with any of the genres of categorization that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Which is like super weird for you. And like it's like I can solve this, but you can't figure it out. You don't know what it is, so it's frustrating.
Yep.
That's all you're able to discern.
All right. I guess it's my turn. You good up there? Anything you can decipher?
Sorry,
Okay.
I got nothing.
You head up.
I'll, as you pass by me, I'll do the same thing to you.
I like it. It's like coffee almost, you know. Okay. I'll climb up the ladder and
Okay.
thank you, Zemdak, and I'll take a look. And at
Clear
the,
your one eye. It's odd because the space that has the bore hole isn't really big enough for you to like turn your head because of your elongated snout. So you have to like be like,
I'm gonna warg into Shakar so I can,
okay,
because he has dark vision. I assume it's dark, so I'd still see.
right. And because he has advantage on perception,
He has advantage on.
but you already have
perception,
advantage on the history check. So go ahead and roll an advantage on the history check. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you got it.
27.
27. First thing you notice is the teeth.
Okay.
Second thing you notice is the formation of the skeletal structure of what would be the ear. Third thing you notice is the shape of the skull. There's no fucking way this is a subrace of elf. It's not. It doesn't, from what you can tell, it doesn't relate to anything that you're aware of that's terrestrial.
Okay.
The fourth thing you notice there's something extremely familiar about the material that the Chris is made out of. Like super fucking familiar. And then your vision pops back of the broken macaroni, of what you destroyed when you were there. This appears to be made of the same material as the well walls
Ooh.
that you guys have had encounters with.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That ore, stone, or metal that you weren't able to
Ore,
identify, that
The
doesn't
gate.
seem to fall into
The gate itself.
Yeah.
the gate itself.
Okay.
All right.
That's fascinating.
Temporal blade.
So.
It's really nice when she tells us these
Yeah.
things.
So this is definitely not an elf. I can tell you that much. Even pre-elf. This material from the. I'm not touching it, but the one with the crystal. I'm climbing back down as I'm. It's from something seen before. Guys, you remember the wall that we went through?
The well
Yeah,
doors.
the well,
yes?
the well continuum. Yeah, that's
Oh, the
same
things
thing.
that shot us across the world and into the big old battle. Yeah, I remember those. That's what I went through.
Oh,
That's what I meant creepy
oh,
spider
that's so
lady.
tempting. Oh, but I don't know. I think it would. Oh,
You know,
man.
why not
The
just
creative
sprinkle a little dust on
similarity.
it? Let's see what happens.
That would be touching, though.
Not if I'm using a mage hand. It wants not touching.
You didn't give me
Knowing
nerve.
what I know about the college, they'll consider that touching.
Oh,
Mr. Pennyworth,
Yes.
have you removed any samples from the blade?
Well, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, not as yet. We're extremely, being as we're unable to identify its constituent materials, we don't know how fragile it is, so any sort of sample making could cause irrevocable damage.
Just wonder if you'd taken a flake to do metallurgic testing upon.
No, not as yet. Again, until we're
Just
able to
visual
possibly visually
investigation.
identify what it is, we don't want to take the risk.
Do you want to try this dust on?
Just sprinkle a little in the hole. Just
I'm sorry, what? Sprinkle or what?
I know. I do it all the time. Like,
well, not that. Not
stray
that.
thoughts.
Not
Stray
that.
thoughts.
Are you propositioning me to do drugs with you?
No, no, no.
Ignore
wait,
us.
we
Stray
don't have
thoughts.
to do it right now. But
Stray
just-
thoughts. Probably too dangerous.
You're like, you don't have to do it right now. Like, wait till you're on your lunch break.
Just like, don't do it while you're clocked.
Wrong kind of
Yeah.
arcade.
Right.
Talk about putting dust in holes. I'm just saying.
Oh.
Sofka's just sitting in a corner playing with her rats like she's checked out.
I'm watching Boggers like a hawk as he tries to like use that bow.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's the information that you discern. Whether you choose to share it is entirely up to you. While this is happening, Bogger says, "All right, Kate. All right. Ready to do the thing? If you could just step back a little bit." And she walks up a couple ladders to get to this spot of this angled bone. And she takes it. She pulls out like what looks like a petri dish, some sort of collection dish. Puts the bone into like her breast pocket for a moment and pulls out a dust brush and pulls the petri dish off to the side and dusts it because she doesn't want any contamination. And she puts the petri dish on, pulls the bone back out.
Don't drop it.
Roll intimidation, Jack.
All right, I rolled a 2, so 3.
Not funny. Wasn't funny at all.
Sofka's like
And then
chuckling a little
You
bit.
just see a
Okay,
scrape.
we're back
It's
to
like,
pranking NPCs.
she
We're
did
gonna
start
do a
scraping.
bit about it. We have to. That's just what happens.
She starts scraping. She's like, as some flakes start to, like dust from the air, start to fall down. She does 1, 2, 3, and then she scrapes whatever's left in the bone into the petri dish, puts the bone back into her pocket, takes out the cover of the petri dish, puts it on the petri dish, puts the petri dish down, covers it with some sort of leather, wraps it up, takes the bone back out, steps down this ladder, and hands it back to you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. This could so much. Dragons could be real. Their bones are stronger than diamonds. They're
Welcome to where we've been for the past month.
Welcome to our world.
Except
Pardon me if I
Sokka.
just... And she opens the petri dish. She takes a couple bottles of solutions and starts dripping them on them, doing like flavoring what would be a certain type of, not identified, but something else, like more scientific ventures.
Like chemical tests to figure out what
Yeah.
it is and
How
what it
chemicals-
It's a
reacts
little bit
to.
more of like simic science mixed with magic. It's interesting. However, as she doing so, Argus, with your passive perception, you see, and I don't know if you've ever seen potassium permanganate activate with water. But when you put it in there, it's like this purple flame goes. So this orange flame just goes, and like jet fuel starts burning up from the petri dish. She fails her dexterity saving throw.
Oh.
And Argus is just sitting there going,
Her face is completely burned, and she's bleeding out on the ground.
I'm gonna cure wounds there.
As just like a small jet engine bursts from this petri dish into her face.
I'm gonna yell, cure healing word, and just be like, "Oh fuck!" Cures her.
Great.
I was standing right there. I cured wound.
Yeah,
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 well.
you can do both. Absolutely. Go ahead and roll your healing, guys, and mark down your spell slots.
I told you, precautions.
She's trying. I mean,
I healed her by 12.
I healed her by 7.
yeah, that's more than her max. So, so she is no longer unconscious and bleeding out. However, that did happen, and the sample is now consumed. You do so. You run over. A bunch of the archaeologists stop what they're doing, and they run over, and they're like, "What happened?" You're like, "Oh no!" You see, as soon as like that sound of fire or possible combustion happened, a bunch of the archaeologists started dragging tarps of canvas across things to protect, as they're trained to do. I mean, they can't help somebody who's being injured. They don't have the possibility of doing that, but they can help protect the discovery. So they do their best to help protect the dig. Where some of them try to help, but you guys act really quickly, and you heal her. She comes back consciousness. She's got a bit of a scar on her face that starts to fade away as the magic starts to go in. However, as you see the magic start to heal her, after it finishes and she appears to be fully healed, some of the scar remains, which is odd. Super, super odd. Usually, especially since you got to it so quickly. Obviously, if you're suffering from a wound for a longer period of time, even with magic, it'll sometimes still show a scar. But it's odd that you got to this so quickly and there's still a scar. But she now has what looks like... I hate to mention this, but what's the name of the burn that when people like put cigarettes out on their arm and stuff like that?
a cigarette burn?
No, it's like called something else. It's called like a cherry something, or I can't remember. But it kind of looks like she's got one of those right between her underneath her cheek. No, it was like much bigger and consumed her entire cheek, but it has become smaller. But it won't go away. It's now like a constant scar that's right there. Just go. Thank you.
Precautions. I mentioned precautions.
Yes. I mean, I took all the precautions in the book. I did.
We
So-
told you it could be magical.
So this creature is attuned to flame, to fire.
That's what it would appear to be.
I want it.
But I would like to take another sample. I won't do the experimentation here. I'll bring it back to the lab. I'll do it there. But I'd still like to take another sample if you would let me take another crack at it, because now the sample is completely consumed.
I can elementally protect myself. Would you allow me to take a small scraping for you?
Do you have any archaeological expertise?
No.
Well, then no.
But he's very
But
good
he
with little
did-
things.
He did build that thing, and I pointed
What?
at Conk.
I'm
Like
very good with
dexterous.
tools.
And tools.
I pointed at Conk. I'm like, he did build that.
If all you
Like
need is a
this.
small scraping, I can do that for you safely.
Live omission, man. Live omission.
Roll a persuasion check.
I tried to help you.
Natural one.
Need my other die.
I'm so sorry, but
There you go.
no, I cannot.
Yeah, have a nice chest.
I hope you understand, but I can't allow
I do.
someone
I just
entirely unexperienced in the archaeological arts to interact with such a possibly
just don't want to see anyone else hurt.
unprecedented find.
Just don't want to see anyone else hurt.
Did you help
I
me
understand.
with Tamarin?
Well, here's the deal. I was able to collect the sample with no issue. It's when I started to experiment on it is when it started to react.
You have archaeological experience. We both helped Tamarin.
Actually, yeah, you
It's like
did.
going on a field trip.
We
you know?
did.
Yeah, with his implicit instruction.
Yes.
I still said
I
he
have
has
followed the
experience.
instruction of an archaeologist.
Could I just
before.
have the bone back and to another collection?
Yes.
Okay.
She does the same thing. Nothing appears to happen as she collects it in another petri dish. She then stows this petri dish away for later study. Her curiosity got the better of her, as does,
All of us.
study or
Yes.
history.
Just
Now I really want a flame charm.
there's another common spell. It's called Absorb Elements. If you can perhaps get someone to help you with it,
I will add that to our stretch goals on our Kickstarter.
you can definitely protect yourself from fire specifically.
Yes.
In the
Pennyworth,
future.
make a note to our
To our
stretch
start
goals.
kicker.
Our start kicker. Our start kicker. Yes, thank you. To our start kicker. For
That's what it's called. I thought it was Indigo.
yeah, sorry, I was. Every once in a while, I'm a little dyslexic with brand names. Only brand names. It's so weird.
Dyslexia works. My kid's dyslexic.
Yes. I know that's not how dyslexia works, but that's how fantasy dyslexia works.
That's how dyslexia works in this world.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Interviews, yes?
Yes, of course. I would love to take a moment to get a moment with each of you for perhaps a couple hours each and get your affidavits on some certain information.
Would you happen to have any rations or something we could swap in exchange for this?
Oh, are
Just
you
a little
hungry?
a little meal, yeah. Something to be.
Of course. And she pulls out a piece of what looks like not plastic Tupperware, but like dwarven metal Tupperware. Yes. My wife made this for me.
Oh, how lovely.
It's a wonderful potato and tomato and pineapple stew.
That sounds.
Surface foods are what she's
Wow,
after,
no
so
mushrooms.
that is
That's
perfect.
unusual.
No. She preserves her own fruits and veggies that she gets from around, from the local traders that come in. Well, the most likely esoteric and exotic traders that come in, and then she grabs some stuff and she puts it in jars and preserves it so that we can have nice fresh food.
That's.
As you can imagine, a few of us are used to this location, but the rest of us are more surface oriented.
Of course. I wouldn't mind sharing my bento box with you.
A little variety.
I can share a unique berry with you too. If
A
we
unique
swap.
berry. Is that some sort of euphemism?
No. And I just pull out a good
It's a
berry.
legitimate
It's an actual berry.
Oh, wonderful. Even
It's-
better.
Yeah. There are no euphemisms this time.
She was like, I'm into it. If it is.
Well, I just, again, social, not my thing.
Not
I
mine.
feel ya.
Not so much either. Yeah.
Me neither.
Hey, we're.
What's
You're in
wrong
good
with
company.
that?
Nerds. the like.
The charismatic bard's feeling all like excluded here right now.
Sokka's like
Well, not
playing with her
excluded, you
rats.
just- Everybody has different skills.
Oh, I know. I'm just.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be charismatic, but I roll shit. So. And I'm log. So.
And you're just log. Like, predisposes you to having, like, negatives on everything. God, can you imagine if I gave you roleplay penalties? Oh, God, I would never. That's so mean.
Log and I would be in so much trouble.
Yes. You're in a lot of trouble. Okay, great. Yeah, so you can get some, like, surface food.
Yay.
So is there anything else you guys would like to do? Or any other information you'd like to share before you guys... We pretty much take the rest of the day to sit down and do these interviews. There is a camp set up here for them because they basically live here, temporary lodging for the time being. They have a bunch of tents and like yurts and other things set up. It's an archaeological dig, so they're here. They're planned to be here for at least the next couple months, if not more, and before they like send people to go get more supplies and come back and get they've been at this dig for what appears to be a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, and they intend to be here for a lot longer than that. So.
Sokka's just like lying on the ground, throwing a rat in the air and like catching
like
it.
a cat. He's just like, meow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Every time I hear you doing that, Cole's just imagining all the money we can make in towns doing Sofka's magical rat circus.
Wasn't there was that thing in Coraline where that one German that German circus performer dude was training rats to do a bunch of stuff?
Yeah.
Was he German or was he like Austrian or something? I can't remember.
I can't remember right now either. And I think it differs between what he is in the book to what he is in this movie too, which
German and Austrian just so similar.
Yeah.
I think of Green Mile.
Don't tell them
Mr.
that.
Jangle.
Right, Mr. Jangle.
It does say that. It's like saying Brazilians are the same as Argentinians. They get so mad.
Yeah.
Please don't do
Or
that.
like the Irish, or that the Irish are the same as the English.
Oh God! Well, that's just
Or Scots.
That's like-
Or the Scots are the same as the English.
That's
Or the Welsh are the
demonstrably
same as
untrue.
the English.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
That's
not.
like that's colonization, dog.
yeah. It's just demonstrably untrue. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
but
But
yeah. What's
we
up?
speak the
With-
same
The rest of time that you gave me with being, extra juiced up with intelligence, try to continue working on that party pulsar. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Oh yeah, the PP. Okay, you start working on the PP.
I was going to see if Argus has
PP.
the
You gotta space those letters
augury or
out.
whatever it's called.
Augury.
Augury. I was going to
Augury.
prompt wait for it to see if
So
he
here's the
got
deal,
that.
guys. If you're doing these interviews, you won't be able to do anything else.
Well, we'll be taking turns. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Because
I
you said
I
2
understand.
hours per.
2 hours per
Is that what
Person
you
is
said?
what
to
you
learn ritual
said.
spells.
Well, no, didn't you say 2 hours per interview?
That's true. However, it's more like in order to learn the ritual spell, I believe it takes like your downtime for the day.
Well, so if I'm doing second level spell, then that'd be 4 hours. So if there's there are 2 interviews.
You're
would
right.
be
Yeah,
that 4
yeah,
hours.
yeah. If you want to get real brass tacks with me and get super specific, sure, you can do that. Yeah.
We all have other things we have to do during that time.
Yeah,
like,
I know. You were like, I want
It's
to
like
get work done.
Sitting in the doctor's waiting room,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
we'll have to wait to see if he even has it prepared today or
Okay,
not.
so here's the deal. While this is happening, you see for like a good hour while you guys are doing your interviews, Willow's just staring at the fossil. And you see her being conflicted. Yes, what? You looked like you wanted to say something.
Nope.
She doesn't engage with pretty much any of you while this is happening. She appears to be like hyper focused on this. She's just staring, thinking. Every once in a while, she nods at the knuckles. She's thinking. Revik's just standing there, being a sentinel, just doing his thing. From what it appears, Bagra doesn't even really pay too much mind to Revik at all. She's like, "Oh, okay, you've got like an old warforged that you've had carrying your bags." She doesn't really think too much of it. It's not really her thing. As much as she loves history, she's more concerned on what she just learned. That she can only take so much. She can't be like, "Oh, a warforged. Tell me about your history." It's more of
Right.
like, "Holy shit, dragons are real." Hold on.
yeah, we did drop a really big bomb on her.
Yeah. She's a little distracted. She is a paleontologist. Actually, is her.
I've been wanting to.
So
correct you
archaeologist,
this whole
paleontologist.
time.
She has a PhD in paleontology, archaeology, and she's working on her master's in anthropology. So she is a very, very smart woman who is studying a lot about history. You're intending to use some of the sparse downtime, or not sparse, but like scattered downtime to try to learn augury.
Well, if he has it prepared, if not, then I'll work on the third
I
of
actually
the spells.
don't Actually, let me look at his. Let me see.
I don't know how he says when he's got prepared food down here.
Let me see. Oh, it's when they're pulled out.
Oh, okay.
Or no, when he pulls them out of the thing. So,
Yeah, so if they're not in there, then
so he
Augury's
doesn't
not-
have augury prepared
Yeah.
today, unfortunately.
So then instead I'll work on the third of the spells I sent you. The third one.
The balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got
Fair
it.
enough.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal.
That just sounded really bad as you guys were talking about it here.
Great.
It's
So
app description for our group.
okay. So then this is what we'll do.
Sounds
Do
a
me a
lot bigger
favor.
than it is.
Tell me in like kind of a vague sense what it is that how it is you're going about.
Well, so I know I can create darkness. I've done that a few times. But like it's just I hide in it.
Mhm.
And so I'm trying to come up with a way to harness it differently to make it more offensive.
Okay. Cool. So you take a moment, or you take several hours to work on this to try to be like, okay, how do I condense it and make it like potent so it does more than just like
Hide it.
yeah. Okay, cool. So do me a favor and roll just a straight charisma check, because it's your spellcasting ability modifier, right?
Yep.
So roll d20 just to add your spellcasting ability.
Which one? It's not
Way
gonna
to go,
fuck
Log. That was not inspiration, just so you know.
Yeah. So plus charisma, that's only gonna be a 7.
7. You're trying to grasp the idea of it, but unfortunately, what you're doing is that you're like, you're like, okay, wait, let me try it, and then you just cast darkness on you, and like you're sitting next to the people that are doing the interview, so you just boom, and then they're completely blind, and she's like, Bogger's like, oh, turn out the lights.
I seriously consider going and yanking a piece of the fossil off.
Oh, yeah, because you can see, nobody else can.
Yeah.
Where's the adamantine?
Well, no, after seeing what it did to her, I won't. Yeah, because I've seen if I were to just rip a piece off, that could be bad.
I'm proud of you. Log.
Remember,
You're learning.
the teeth that you pulled out were able to be pulled out because how teeth are is that they're only attached to the skeletal structure by muscle.
Yep.
So when it's just a skeleton, yes, but it's
Sorry.
I know what you're saying. Yes, the roots do the
Soft tissues.
yeah, it's soft
There you go.
tissues. Soft tissues. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm just saying-
Don't toss bio in front of the bio
There's
person.
no
I'm sorry.
actual skeleton structure that attaches a tooth to the jaw.
Yeah.
So they're actually two parts. So it is possible to just pull it out if you just yank it and move it around a little bit.
But
Just
no
like-
teeth are exposed.
Right. No, but the bone that is exposed is one piece.
Yeah,
So in order to actually get a piece off, you're gonna have to use the adamantine.
Yeah. So and after seeing what happened, I'll.
Yeah.
And Log and I were in the mouth with Eleazar,
I believe so.
if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, that sounds
So
right.
we would have watched what he had to go through to get that tooth.
At one point, you guys got
Yeah,
pushed
yeah.
away, and
Yes.
it was just him by himself. At one point,
So you're aware of what it takes to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Essentially, that's what I was getting.
yeah.
So instead, I'll just kind of walk around making spooky noises.
Roll an intimidation check.
Ooh, that's gonna be 24.
24. So you roll. Now you roll good.
Whenever it doesn't really matter is when I roll
You're
good.
fine.
So stupid. Okay, great. So you roll your intimidation check. You yes, you go ooh every once in a while, Bagok. You just hear like this like Bagok. She's like, excuse me, Bagok. What does that mean? I'm so confused. I don't like this. Would you please turn the lights back on, please?
After a few minutes, I drop it.
Okay. After a few minutes.
After it's like, okay, now it's not funny.
Log is helping, so...
Fantastic. Great. So you give Bagra a right scare. Susie. What was she yelling about?
I think a dog walked by.
And the door was open?
Mhm.
Goodness gracious.
I feel you, Susan.
Great.
It's scary.
So that's the day, guys. So I believe you only got like half a day's travel in today, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So seeing as you only have you were at the end of this day only going to have a half day's travel, you'll have a full day's travel for tomorrow until you get to the
Alright, so we got rid of our half a day's
Junction.
thing that
Yeah.
we were at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question. As I'm waiting for my turn for the
What's
interview.
today's date, by the way?
Today is the 14th.
Today is the
I
14th.
The 14th of Hylock.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I do, I don't know, like a history check to sort of think of the tales I was told of dragon, like the mythology tales that I might have read, like the
You
old
kind of
tales.
already did that.
Can I do one?
Can I? I'm specifically trying to remember something riding a dragon. Is there anything like that in
There's
any of the
no,
stories
there would
that
be,
I've ever
like
read?
just for your knowledge, there's very most likely nothing that
Okay.
in the annals of history.
That's fine.
Absolutely nothing that you would have ever heard of.
That's fine. I just
So-
was curious.
Yeah, no. I know you're trying to incorporate your meta knowledge into the game,
No,
but
I-
absolutely no.
Can I just randomly roll a history check to see what I took away?
Dragons are considered myth, right?
Yeah, they're
but
myth.
there's still stories.
You've never heard
them.
of anything ever riding dragons.
Okay.
That's not
that's
in
more
any
what
of
I
your
was-
history lore and ever.
That's more what I was
That's
fishing
new.
for. Okay.
That's none of you have ever heard anything like that. Not even inklings of that. There's no way. There's nothing in any folklores that would reference that at all.
Dragons were always pinnacle, apex,
Yeah.
something using
Yeah.
them as
Why would a dragon ever let something ride it?
right.
Can I just roll an intelligence check to see how much I got?
From what?
I don't know. I'm just confused.
You're confused. You want to roll it?
What's
to
going
see
on?
If you're not confused anymore.
Yeah.
This is the stupidest thing. Okay, be a little bit more specific.
I don't know.
In what
I
sense?
just thought I would randomly roll an intelligence check to see
Piece together all of our little bits of
because I have
information.
only heard half of everything. So I'm just I don't know what's going on.
Honestly, I'm gonna let you just RP whatever it is that you think Sofka would understand. About
Okay.
it. I don't think a role is required. I think it's just entirely up to you about how it is you want to play your character. About what it is about, because this information, from what I understand, is that you shared it with the rest of the group, or you haven't shared it yet.
No, I did. I spoke
So
out
you
loud
shared
to,
what it is that you
to
discovered.
the group, but not to.
Right. So you just shared what it is that you discovered with the rest of the group. How you interpret that is entirely up to you as a character.
I think
Doesn't require
Sofka
a role.
has learned more about stuff in the last 30 days than she had ever known. So she's yeah, dragons are probably real. I don't know.
That makes sense. Yeah, you grew up pretty fucking sheltered, but all you-
Sheltered in a way of I
life
don't
of
know.
hard knocks, but also sheltered at the same time.
Not. I don't know if sheltered's the right word, but just
lack
Exposed.
of
not world.
not
lack of
exposed.
world
just-
experience.
yeah.
Like
Naivete.
book experience.
Yeah, just
Little
not.
History.
Just something like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
still hey, I know how to fucking take care of myself really, really well.
Yeah.
But
Just
wait, this is the thing?
not.
Taxes are real?
It's like that mental blindness of, wait, there are left-handed people in the world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or wait, I have to write my own address down in order to get mail? I have to pay for postage?
I have to
silly
pay
stuff like that.
taxes every single year?
Yeah, the
I
things
swear, I
that
just
school
paid them
doesn't
last
teach.
year.
Yeah, school teaches you everything but how to pay taxes. You
Yeah.
figure out the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but you don't know. They don't teach you how to pay taxes.
Log doesn't understand taxes either.
Yeah.
Log
Sofka-
doesn't understand the difference between 5 and 6 on my hands.
So he couldn't pay taxes.
They pay 5 taxes.
Here's
So,
5.
how many?
once
tax-
it leaves 5, they're going to have to count it out.
How
past
much
it.
taxes last year did you pay? 5.
Actually, no, this is what I see Log doing.
How
5.
many drugs did you take? 5. 5 drugs. 5 whole
No.
marijuanas.
This one. How many drugs did you take? 5.
Yeah, I think Sofka's
Sounds
definitely I don't know, probably.
Can I roll on the
Yeah.
earworm, though?
Yes. What is it you're doing to work?
I'm gonna try and change the song a little bit from the one that never ends to the one that talks about how small the world is.
Ah, yeah. There you
You're
go.
gonna get us sued by Disney, dude. That's a Disney song.
Maybe.
Please don't do that.
No, it's why I also said its name and I'm not singing any of it.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna actually request of you as a player: is that
I need to come up with some other earworms. Yes.
no, I want you to write a song.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, come up with some other earworms as well. Yeah, like here's the thing: make it simple. Think of 4 chords that will go together. If you want help, I can help you out.
Cool,
I did this
because
a lot.
As I have
He
said
was a
before.
music.
Yeah.
I was a music teacher for a long time, so I
Oh
can
yeah,
totally help
and
you out.
as I said before, as much as I love music, I can't read fucking note sheet music.
No,
to
you
save
don't
my
need to
life.
read it. You just
Oh,
like,
no,
if
I
you
know,
want to come
but-
over, we can work with
Yeah,
my
yeah,
piano and my
we'll work
guitar.
that.
We can figure out some stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I already have that one that I'm working on already for you too. So.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So I was thinking like that. Let's add a super catchy tune to that or something.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can put that into yeah. Okay.
And
I
that
know
will
what you're
make
talking
it'll
about.
be your song, which is
Yeah.
why it makes sense. It's more potent for it to be your song.
Yes, it is.
For it to be your spell.
Well, no, but what I'm saying as I'm trying to learn and create this spell, I'm trying to morph from one song that's already created this situation to a
Yes,
different song.
absolutely.
So I'm trying to do the evolution of to my
You're
own song
drawing
kind of thing.
inspiration from very catchy tunes that are very hard to get out of your head.
Studying
You're
the
like,
chords.
okay.
Yes.
Figuring
That's
out
what
are
I'm
the
talking about right now.
elements?
It's more the evolution kind of thing.
This already annoys the fuck out of me. What are the elements of this so I can incorporate it into this something that I'm creating?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So here's what I'll say. Just roll, again, your spellcasting check. So roll a charisma check for me.
That would be 21.
21. You can write down a success.
Hey.
I was trying to do party pulse.
Just
right
for
here.
those,
Should I-
one second. For those of you that are working on your spells, a roll of 25 or higher on your check will count as 2 successes.
Okay.
To just remind me. Go ahead.
So I was trying, while I was waiting for my interview time, to work on that party pulsar spell, and I still had Zemdak's boost with that. So
Okay, so
I hadn't
interesting.
rolled for it yet.
Okay, so go ahead again. Roll your. Describe to me how it is your. Actually, so this is what happens because let me describe this because you were near him when the darkness popped off. So, so you're like studying. You're looking at your notes. You're like, and then darkness, and you're like, oh, a font of inspiration.
Got the flash of inspiration.
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
know what
so
I
go ahead.
mean. That's a 23.
23. That's a success. So you're just like, I can use this. He's like, thank you, Log.
It's like in the middle of like,
You're
thanks, log.
Right, exactly.
like reading, you're writing, and then darkness. Thanks, Log.
That was really great idea, Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad it worked for somebody.
Log's like, oh, bright idea. Wait.
That does make sense.
Great. Okay. Anything else?
During the interview, I don't give him my actual name. I just say my name is John.
John.
Didn't you introduce yourself as
Yeah,
Log
we-
several
I
times?
don't think so.
If you didn't, we did.
Yeah.
I
don't
think
know.
they did.
Yeah, we
Maybe
did.
it's John Log or something.
Or Log
like-
John.
I could be wrong.
I don't think anybody said his name.
Okay, well here's
I
what-
know.
No, we've done.
So
Yeah, I know.
I'll
I
let,
said it at
definitely
least a
said.
couple of times.
I'll let the yeah, you both of you go like Log, just don't. Log, don't do that. So here's the deal. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and I'll let the dice roll for it. Just roll me another charisma check to see if you can pass off your name.
Would it be deception or just charisma?
That is a very good question.
You could also try to say just anonymous source, because that is a way that you could.
Yeah, here's the deal. If you don't want to be cited with your name, you can just ask her not to cite you with a name and she just won't.
So yeah, so I'll just do that.
Okay, but you don't mind being known to her as Log. But she's also, as is the Bard, one of the rules of the Bardic College, if sources choose to be anonymous, it's like the press. If you talk to the press and they say, hey, this is off the record, or hey, this is anonymous, they won't do it. It's part of their integrity.
Yeah.
They just won't do it. Because they know that if anybody else comes to them and somebody said, hey, I said it was on the record and they posted it anyway, nobody will ever trust them ever.
Yep.
So yeah, so I'll do that.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Cool. So you can just be cited as anonymous. Absolutely. Anything else?
I'm doing maintenance on Conk.
Okay.
Just
cool.
making sure he's Tip top. Revik too, if he'll let me. Grease some joints and make sure it's
he
all.
doesn't let you get into any of the inner
No.
workings, but if you want to do superficial stuff, he'll let you.
Make sure it's all working tip top.
The little dwarven maker.
I felt Revik is more like, this is a test. You guys are idiots. This is a test. My test is to get you out of here alive.
This is so absurd. It has to be set up.
This has to be training. This stuff doesn't happen in real life.
No, it doesn't. Okay, great.
I'll do normal thing where I cast Sky Lounge for the day just to kind of chill out there for a bit, but then also, does anybody need any help with anything? Can I help you guys with anything?
Well, I mean, since Argus isn't here.
Yeah, he's talking on the interview right now.
So you still have what was identify?
It'll take me a little bit, but I can do it. Yeah. What are you thinking?
Well, so that's a first level, right? And you both have that?
We also both have detect magic, I believe.
I don't.
Oh, I have that.
Oh, you do?
Available. I don't have investigation today. I didn't really set up the tools for it. But she can teach you that, or I can teach you how to see magic.
And so you have the detect one?
Yes.
Well, so maybe we'll do that, because does anyone else have the detect?
I'm going to impose my will as a DM here.
Different kinds of magic.
Well, no, that's not what I mean. Per day.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's going to be a more thing. Just because of the capacity of how arcane knowledge works, you can work on one thing.
Since I already tried
your spell or try to learn a new spell.
Gotcha.
And
the only exception
I can
is
prepare
wizards
detect
because they can
magic.
learn multiple spells because that's specifically in their raw class is to take the scrolls and try to scrimscribe.
I mean,
Plus, I think we're possibly fighting your intelligence on this too, though.
Well, for me, it's just my charisma. On this one.
It is your
Roll
charisma, but
bad
still a lot of information to digest.
That's
it'll
fine.
take some time.
So maybe tomorrow, I guess we can.
I'm wondering if multiple of us prepared the same spell and tried to teach it, because all of us are going to
Right.
use it in a different manner.
I thought I had the mechanics, the rule set out for how this is going to work.
So I
and
think
you guys are finding exploits at every turn.
I think one of us is going to manage to help him correctly understand what we're doing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
perhaps in the future, if we do that way, at least for the lower level things until you get the hang of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you've seen us do that you may be interested in learning besides those things, or because it's only things that you can use with your book, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Not okay.
So yeah, those are the only things I think I can, because the book is doing the work in a way.
Right.
So
I got a really good one I can teach you.
The way he whispered that just terrifies me.
Especially how it could turn
I'll
dark.
telepath message to him so that he can respond telepathically.
which one?
It has no practical purpose, but you can leave vocal messages on things
Magic mouth.
that just go off at random points in time.
I like that.
You have to leave. There's some components that go into it that cost you some money, but it can be hilarious when it works out.
Oh my god, Mog is now entering the prank war.
Magic mouth could be a lot of fun.
You're an idiot.
You can only do
Fuck
one
you.
magic mouth at a time, right? Or I guess you can
No.
just drop it whenever you want. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into it.
Have you cast anything ritually in front of us, Sofka? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I only have the one ritual spell, so.
No, it costs 10 gold in component pieces.
Right.
So when you cast it, it's there, I think, until it's dispelled.
Yeah, I don't think I've cast anything ritually.
I also have Skywrite, so you can leave messages in the sky.
Cole sucks at singing. but of course, it'd be written like a first grader because log,
Right. Like
K would be backwards.
Right, the D
SUK.
too, like-
No, it's SUX. Sucks.
At is. I don't know what log we do for at.
It's the what is it? What's the name of the symbol? The at symbol. It's called the
At symbol.
Ampersand.
No,
No,
ampersand's
that's
the
the
and.
Ampersand's the and sign.
Fuck, I know what this is.
I don't remember.
Because I just call it
Don't
that.
know if it matters right now.
I mean, I also have like an alarm. I think I used it like on our first adventure into the forest. Like you
That
can
sounds
set up
familiar.
you can set up a perimeter. But so we should start with the lower level things and work
Yeah.
our way up. So we'll get
Baby
to the fun
steps,
stuff.
baby steps.
We'll get there.
Can't wait to see how, once you learn how to do it, what Log does for the hut. And how his hut appears.
Well, depending on how you teach me, I've got an idea.
Inky, Icker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everyone snuggle in.
It's like coming out, and you're like,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, okay, good night, everybody.
See, I was actually kind of thinking about changing the snow so that it was no longer white snow that fell, but like black snow that fell and turned
And then
into
just
it
drips
because, yeah.
Be interesting.
During
Well,
my interview
as
with Bagra,
Marcus said,
I used prestidigitation to create little, like, tiny hand-sized illusions of the creature. Like, we were inside of its skull, so I can create, like, little recreations of...
Right. The thing with prestidigitation, and I hate to impose this limit, but prestidigitation is not minor illusion. Minor
No.
illusion, you get to do more articulate type of illusions.
Minor illusion
Presti-
is 5 foot by 5 foot.
Sure,
It's
of course.
full size.
I understand, but it specifically says in prestidigitation illusory trinkets. So it's
No,
more
it
like
says trinkets or an illusory image
Yes,
that
it
can fit
does.
in the palm of your hand.
okay. So there are limits to
Size.
not just the size, but the
Detail that we can
Resolution.
produce.
yeah, the detail
Yes.
and the complexity of
Yes.
it. I mean, like you get stick figures, guys. You can do like the basic idea of a skull, but as far as like doing a whole fucking scene of somebody within a skull
No, I
in
just
detail,
meant the
is-
skull itself. Like,
yeah,
recreation of the thing we saw.
yeah. You can give her like the basic
on-
shape
in
of what it might
miniature.
look like. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
a
that's-
40th scale of...
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's just that you can't like also put someone in it that's also mining away
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Simple, stationary.
Yeah, it's got to be
illusions.
it's as simple as you can.
Yeah.
Here's the deal: if you think you can draw it, that's what you can put in your hand.
Okay.
That's like how I'm like trying to limit it, only because.
To keep us down on some of our high meta shenanigans.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, just
I
because
get it.
like casting prestidigitation to give somebody the illusion of an individual so they can cast them sending is a stretch.
Which you did establish when I tried to do that
Right,
earlier.
right.
Yeah.
Whereas disguise self is specifically designed to do something like
Right.
that. So
Well, I was gonna say, so
because-
during my interview, I could
Why-
be disguising myself as all of us doing the acting out all the different shit that
there's
we
a
went
reason
through.
why those spells are partitioned in their own spots because we
Yeah.
don't want them to encroach upon the other side.
Which is why having both is
It's like a
awesome.
one-man show.
Right, that's basically what I'm just disguising myself as, like what Gizmo was doing, what Eleazar was doing, what I was doing.
I just imagine Log just like, and then I was like,
Right, that's exactly
I
what
was
it would
like,
be.
and then I was like,
When you get out of your
And
interview,
then Cole got eaten.
when you get out
Log
of
Jam
your,
and the Jam Log, one man show.
yeah, when you get out of your interview, Trishani had looked over a couple times after like jotting some notes down, and was like, you know, you should really think about the performing and doing
Oh,
that
wait,
so
that's
on
it.
the show. You know?
Jam Log, the Log Jam and one man show.
I mean, I'm supposed to be a charisma caster, so I mean,
I mean, it works. It's
See, it's the thing.
I
like,
can help you make this performance work, bud.
so yeah, we need musical backing and.
I never asked.
your
Is the
charisma
lights
comes
going?
off of like awkward endearment, of just like oh Log, like oh you. It comes off more like that, being like bless
What
your
if
heart.
you do
That's,
like-
that's more of
Like,
like,
like Bill Spear sort of articulation that could work, you know?
great. So is there anything else? 'Cause that's like your day.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So we're only a day, not from. Is it from Minheim or is it from somewhere else?
The-
then?
The junction, I
The
think.
junction.
The junction to
Okay.
I'll use the carrots, and if you let me, like the stuff from the bento box, and I'll make like a legitimate stew.
I mean, it's made. the meal that she has, she's just like she's splitting her lunch with you.
Okay.
Yeah. And I gave
It's
a,
already a very nicely like curated meal. Like,
Sokka started making collars for her favorite rats.
like little collars. What are they made out of?
I don't know yet. They're just she'll like rip a little bit of her claw and just tie it around.
oh, little.
For
Are you
her
trying to
favorites.
collect more rats as you move along?
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay,
are
so
you
you're trying to have a
talking
little
like?
rat army?
You talking like those
Okay.
little like bandanas you see on dogs?
Yeah, like
sometimes
after
for your
they,
rat?
like-
I love that. That is
That's
awesome.
So go ahead and roll an animal handling check to see if you can add more rats to your entourage.
Well, like right now it's just Nico, but I am adding.
Okay.
That's 11.
You get one rat.
Oh, nice.
It looks like a female rat that's well into their years.
She's so cute.
That's looking
like
for
two.
Has like one blind eye.
yeah, like one cloudy eye, a chip out of one of their ears. That's just like
I like pick her up and I'm like, your name is Sylvia, and then I put her on my shoulder.
she's just like just happy to be here.
Is her hair silver and she's Sylvia Platinum?
Yeah, like there's a streak that goes from her cloudy eye all the way to the back of her fur. It's just like this, this platinum blonde streak.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad I kept the beer inside my mouth like that was. Like I'm seeing them taking a drink as you say it. I'm like,
And then she
I
just
sit
sits on
directly
my
in
other
front of
shoulder.
the camera and the microphone. I can't spit.
She just sits on my shoulder. She's not very useful, but I love her.
Yeah. She's cute.
Okay, so is there anything else then?
I'll just continue, like, for a bedtime story, just continue flipping through Emrys's book, just seeing if there's something that I might have forgotten. Or just, like, overlooked. Like, you know when you reread something, you
Yeah,
sometimes pick up different cues.
Watch a movie for the 5th time, you're like, I didn't notice that.
Right.
Sure. Go ahead and roll investigation check.
Yeah, 25.
25. That was the DC. Okay. So you already walk me through the information that you already discerned. There was info about
Like how,
making somebody immortal
right,
by bringing them back from the dead, but keeping their soul intact.
exactly. Some of the just scribblings of a madman being like, I can try this, I can do this, I gotta bring them back. And
Right. It
just-
started to be more stream of consciousness
Yeah.
and less laboratory notes.
Exactly. So there's that. It might take me a moment to flip through everything.
That's
if I
okay.
want.
That's okay.
If you want me
From
to
what
do
I
that.
remember, there's also keep going. Excuse me. From what I remember, there's also the information of using the terrazine as a catalyst to enhance such reactions.
Yeah.
He was sorry about doing
And then,
changing.
yeah, I do remember there was that moral conundrum a little bit where they were all like, this is wrong, but I still need to do this so I can complete this stuff for this person kind of thing.
Yeah, putting feelings aside for this work. She needs to hate me. So that's.
Right. You see his more in-depth things with Pernua specifically that you can tell were his thoughts of what he was doing to Pernua. He was like, I know this is wrong, but it's necessary and it needs to happen.
There's a
And
lot
if I can't steel myself and make this happen, I'll never be able to get to the goal at which I'm striving for.
Again, and the goal being like I have to see him again, and it seemed like somebody was helping him who was alive. That's what I had in my notes, but we know that Emrys is. Sorry, I'm just continuing to filter through this.
Is there anything you're doing before we toss on for the night?
I was probably just gonna pray, but I'm not doing a prank, just praying.
A likely story.
While he's off somewhere, I would like to talk to Gizmo and feel like,
Here we go.
you know, Argus seemed disappointed that he couldn't take part in the Gutbuster before. Maybe we can set up a surprise Gutbuster challenge for him in Minheim.
Do you really want to surprise someone with that stuff?
I don't know. I don't know if it was you or he that touched my loot.
Wasn't me.
Then yes.
I did not touch your loot. I rescued your loot once upon a time. I have
Yes,
not touched
yes,
it
you
since
did.
then.
Okay.
Do it in the safe
Find any
state,
other
though.
information?
Not at my quick glance, but those were the basic
Besides your retort,
assemblings
bigger
and
question.
things.
Are you gonna get my sister-in-law, who works at the bar?
The thing you find.
That's where I was going, but we haven't gotten there yet.
You know how
Last
Da Vinci?
night, that's where I'm
You know how Da
at.
Vinci, like, coded his notes,
Right, and I
write
do
them
remember.
upside down and backwards.
And I do remember that he wrote some things in Kenren, like every other
Cipher.
letter. Like he had a cipher, and
Mhm.
it was, and that's why it took me a while to get it. But I was really curious as to why he knew Kenren anyway.
So there are things that you notice in Kenren, and then you start to notice pattern in Kenren. It being written upside down, backwards, while looking at a mirror. And then you notice there's patterns throughout the pages of only certain words. Like every once in a while, there's like writing, there's logs, and then for absolutely no reason, one of the words is in Kenren rather than in Common, or Elven or whatever language he was using, and it doesn't. You're not understanding why. Like there's no reason why. It's not any specific word, and it's not something that was referencing Kenren culture. So it doesn't make sense that it would be in the vernacular. It doesn't make any sense. But then you start to flip through the pages and then start to impose them upon themselves. And you start to like kind of, in your mind space, pull them up. And the words that are in Kenren make you start to realize, if put in a certain order, create a third layer, a third paradigm of notes that weren't visible the way you would normally read a book. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Like
because you pull out.
you pull out it becomes a code.
Yeah.
And these Kenren phrases throughout reference things that were apparently only for him, because he was the only one that's supposed to understand this, as reminders for him to remember certain things, because he obviously was dealing with a lot, and there was a lot of information. It's the same reason why you make, okay, don't forget about this, do this in my to-do list.
Grocery
It's
list.
kind of like that, but it's not a grocery list, it's a to-do list. It's more like, remember where you came from. Remember why you're doing this, as a constant reminder in there. So he, while he's reading and
What they
writing
meant
it,
to you,
he, while he's reading and writing it, can just immediately and automatically understand it because he's the one that wrote the cipher.
Right.
But, and so that's how this is working to you. So you start to put together and stitch together this amalgamation of different thoughts. And these words start to form something that mentions an enclave. The gist of what he's saying here, or what he's telling himself, is remember what the enclave did. Remember what they wouldn't do. Remember who your real family is. It's almost like subliminal messages for himself.
And again, because he's doing this even throughout just his scribblings of a madman, that's implying that there's another level of intellect beyond
Oh,
that.
yeah, he's a genius.
Yeah.
Like, he's no doubt probably one of the smartest minds in the world. He's brilliant. That's what you get from this. It's very little, but it sometimes repeats like a mantra throughout the like remember what the Enclave did. Remember what they wouldn't do. Remember who your real family is. Remember what the Enclave did. Remember what they wouldn't do. Remember who your true family is.
Okay. I'll kind of just share that information. Whoever is still awake in the wee hours of the night, as I'm like, oh, I finally figured something out.
I'm awake. Isn't he adopted?
Right. That's why I wonder who
Remember who your true
he
family
is. Yeah, who his true family
Could
is.
be his bio family if he knows them.
Right.
Be it Relius?
I don't know. Like if it
Saying,
seemed
like Tortesi could be a brother or something more.
right. I mean, I always thought, given his reaction, that it was more of a personal relationship, not a love relationship, if you will, not necessarily brotherly love, but perhaps a no. It's
Granny's premonitions mentioned the council multiple times. When we asked about Emrys and when we asked about your mother, she mentioned the council in both of those premonitions. I mean, he's disowned, essentially, by his family, so
Was he disowned by his original family or by his adopted family?
the Ehrenbachs, I believe,
So
if our
probably
knowledge is correct.
Adopted family.
that's the adopted.
The adopted
He was
family.
probably just like you're saying, disowned by his original family. And
So the-
maybe.
Council must be referring to whoever's in charge in Sarnlu.
Well, not necessarily Sarnlu.
Council.
Conclave.
The conclave is in
Enclave.
the enclave is in the
Enclave or
in
conclave?
the mall.
Enclave.
They-
So I think I've written down as conclave.
Yeah, that's what I kept writing down too. That's why I was just verifying.
Let me double check.
Conclave.
What's in the mall?
Well, lots of stuff. You know, there's hometown. Well,
But-
kind of hometown.
Lots of
Oh,
sand.
yeah, and you told us that a lot of undead appear in the maw too.
Let me
Would
double
that be where he'd want to study, especially?
Well, the fact that he knows Kenran, like, I mean, that's a really weird language.
That's my mistake. I have it referenced in Enclave in some parts and Conclave in others.
All right.
That's
So
my mistake.
what would you like to have it be referenced as?
It is both. It's half in my notes as Conclave and half as
This
Enclave.
is why we're asking, what do you want it to be?
Right,
Yeah, let me
right.
do-
I'm
let's
going to
find
go
out
back
what
to
the
my
definitions are
very
real quick.
first mention of it.
What do you want? You get to choose.
Conclave was my very first mention of it. So
Okay.
I
so
will change
conclave.
all.
That's what I have in my notes from Granny's
Well,
premonitions is conclave.
Okay, conclave. And the conclave was again just inferring from what we know of the
okay.
not Golden Dawn,
Right.
Coalition of the Golden Dawn
Right,
is the
and the-
Norwegian stuff.
right? And is the conclave tied to that?
You have no idea.
So
Okay, I haven't heard of that then, even with
Oh.
my studies.
Roll a history check.
So I looked at the definitions of both words, if that helps.
Yeah, what is it?
A conclave is a private meeting or a meeting place for a conclave. An enclave is a place or group that is different in character than those surrounding it. It's one of the definitions.
Both of them work. So
That's
it
why I'm
doesn't
like,
matter.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
kind of interchangeable here.
Yep. So yeah, conclave it can be. It's fine.
So 16 for the history check for whatever is running the coalition of the.
Okay, so you're trying to figure out what's going with the Coalition of the Golden Dawn is spearheaded by two sects. One that is the religious zealots that follow the god Pharaoh, and the other is the more governmental body, like the litigious body, or to say the
Judicial.
I want to say the what do you call it when it's the judicial body,
Yeah.
which is mayors and people that are in charge. Obviously, they're not called mayors; they're called something else. But they are. there's always been kind of an uneasy truce between the two of them, being like, hey, you run that, and I understand that there's the separation of church and state has, I don't want to say non-existent, but been difficult to maintain, if it's ever been maintained at all. Both of those parties bleed into each other often. Specifically, a lot of the laws that were made have to do with some religious history. So it's nigh impossible for them to be separate powers. Like I said, the pantheon that the Kenran and the Mauritian people study is separate from a lot of the other pantheons.
Right.
It's mostly just the God Pharaoh and all of the saints and other types of like minor gods that have their certain portfolios within that own pantheon. And because of that, other sects have come, other churches have come, well, not churches, but other just temples of worship have come about. And I can't stress enough how much it's been like an uneasy thing, but it's the balance has been maintained, because if it was just purely religious rule, things could go sideways, and if it was just purely judicial rule, things could go sideways. So it's not that people are elected; it's that there is definitely a hierarchy of I don't want to say monarchy, but definitely hegemony of the people of that claim to be descendant of the God Pharaoh, or claim to be descendant of people who the God Pharaoh deemed as worthy back then. And those are the people that pretty much run the more judicial branch, whereas the none of the people from the religious side of the branch claim to have hereditary ties to the God Pharaoh or anyone that they would deem worthy, because they would view that as
Blasphemy.
quote unquote blasphemy, because nobody has that. The only person that could be the God Pharaoh is the God Pharaoh themselves. So that's kind of where that tension kind of stems from.
It's very kind of ancient Egyptian with it, because you weren't really
Yes.
a god until you were the pharaoh.
Yeah,
Right.
right. And so, have you heard? You got the information from your sister, right?
I got right, and then we also Argus sent to my father.
Right.
So
So
we
something's
know what,
happened.
We know what's going on. I guess.
You just don't know
in-
the specifics of it.
Right, and in relation to this, would conclave make any sense to that political structure, or is it more of another part of the world that could be implied?
Here's the deal. Who else was?
Granny's premonitions, or her answers to our questions, made it more seem like the conclave was in Sarnlu.
Okay.
It was in respect to the masters and mistresses that kept Log's mother, as well as the Aaron box themselves.
Right.
So, as far as we know, it's more of an elven.
A conclave hides behind a guise. A cloak benefactor bring a demise. Specifically, what the cryptic recap was when we did that one thing. As far as Granny Lonely's specifics of what she said.
Others caught in master's nets, ties to conclave.
So again, guys, you don't know what this conclave is.
No.
Okay.
This conclave is a complete unknown entity. You've never heard of it before, but you've gotten hints from people that know a lot of information, which have been magically enhanced, and it actually draws from their life force in order to do stuff. Ergo, Granny Lonely. Other things you meant now have read it in Emers's book, some sort of conclave. So there's some evidence pointing to the existence of a conclave. And what that is, you guys don't know.
I
Right.
have no idea.
No clue. I mean, this might be a mystery that you're going to have to try to unsolve.
Long term.
To solve.
So yeah, I guess going. Okay, yeah, maybe. I'm
As far
very
as its
disappointed.
connection to the
Sure.
coalition of the Golden Dawn, you don't have any evidence as it seems right now.
The only thing I can think of is literally the fact that it's partially written in Kenran. Like I mean,
Right, and that's it.
like,
And that could just been another language you used as a cipher.
right, like,
You don't know.
not to disparage my own people, but I mean, if you had to elect a foreign language in your upbringing, would you choose Kenrin?
One of the rarest languages.
Right, that's not.
It was smart of him to use that language because
Nobody
very
else
few
knows
people
it.
out of the boss use it. It's one of the more isolated languages.
Right,
Yeah, I learned my language just because of what I come from.
right. So I don't. It's very select.
I obviously learned mine through religious practice.
Well,
Speaking in tongues.
You don't learn that, that just kind of happens.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I cast tongues.
It worked well.
I was gonna play with it that night too, so I was
I mean-
wow, I actually prepared this way.
the clue is somewhat suspect now.
Right.
But Pernua did tell us that one of his hideouts was in the maw. So perhaps he spent enough time there to learn Kenrin and just
Thought it was
used that language
We also
as a
don't know how
cipher.
old he is.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
With
that's
no
true.
clue.
If
We
he's-
also don't know where he comes from.
If he's partially elven, his life is
We don't.
perhaps centuries long.
And who's to say
But-
that his birth region isn't the mall?
But
Right.
when we were
That's
breaking
true.
into that crypt, did we figure out how old that one hidden crypt was?
I don't think so.
We knew that.
Like where you found Tortesi?
Yes.
I believe you found that it wasn't as old as some of the
It
other
was newer.
sarcophagi.
All right.
Right.
Just making sure that was the correct
Yeah,
one.
It was like an annex, an addition that happened later on. Granted, I mean those sarcophagi, of the people of the Tortesi family that died, happened over generations and generations and generations, a wide spectrum of time in which it happened, because obviously from one generation to another, different time periods. So
Well, one thing that I think that the conclave might be have to like. I don't think it's from the maw.
Okay.
Just because, I don't know. It doesn't make sense for him to be against the conclave if he's using a language from the maw as his like mantra language.
There could be some sort of champion there, right? Or like some sort of positive.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's more connected if he's remember who your true family is. That sort of points towards him not really being an Ehrenbach, and that seems to show to me that his Ehrenbachness is more tied to the conclave than whatever the maw is.
That's a very good point. Perhaps. Right. Perhaps the Ehrenbach, a member of the Ehrenbach family is part of that conclave,
Perhaps.
right? Something like that as far
Or
as.
maybe just is in that region.
Right.
You can always ask Paige.
Oh, wait.
I'd rather ask Paige in person. Every time you message her, we get nothing. Because she spends so
We
much
get about
time
a sentence.
Praising.
praising Poopy.
you got information
We got-
this time from Paige.
Yeah.
You got that he was adopted.
Right.
And then we missed a bunch of it because she spent so much time praising Poopy.
But you know, I mean, he is pretty cool.
I mean, you
Oh,
gotta,
I'm not
you gotta praise
denying that
Poopy.
Poopy is cool. I'm just saying.
Sofka.
It's
Yeah.
much
It's
much
much
nicer
nicer
to
about
talk to her
Poopy
in
is.
person with Poopy.
True. It
Sofka
is-
has no idea. She's just talking out of her ass.
You,
Right?
you just listen to us talk about Paige and Poopy, and you're just like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
this
Sofka's just like, oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sure you understand that it's
Poopy.
a random person I'm using sending on.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Right. I think we did try to describe this, but yeah, Shikara used to be a platypus, and she was really just odd that he would look at like some magical books. But it was really me looking through the magical books. But she's heightest, so like she didn't
Well,
think that I was.
Well, and I'm going to point this out. She's a halfling, and I could barely fit through her book stacks, let alone Tersheni.
I didn't see a problem.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
you were fine.
You never went in there.
No, you did.
Yeah,
You got
you
hit.
did not stay,
You got
yeah.
hit on by her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the very
that's
last one, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
That's, how,
for
that's how we
you.
got a map.
No, that
No,
was very
Log
good.
got
Yeah.
us the map.
Yeah, I know, but
I went in her head and told her I was Poopty and to just fucking give us the map.
It started out small, and it
Ended up as a new religion.
quickly.
We maybe should check and see if that's like
Safka.
spread.
I don't know if you want to
She's
spend
as
time with us. We
reckless.
take little things
That's
and make
true.
them big things.
I've noticed that.
Things that don't matter, we make matter, and things that matter, we
This campaign is just
Fail.
like you guys creating your own
Bad.
big bad. Defeated at the end.
This
we
is the big bad.
as I've said a few times, we are constantly failing forward in this campaign.
Shakara is going to gain enough followers at some point
That it's
when
gonna
she
Become a demigod.
when you
Yeah.
lose her. She's going to like come back as like the real demigod.
Yeah.
Shakar.
I'll be like,
Good
buddy,
grief.
I'm
And
so
watch, it's
sorry
gonna be
if
the
I
time
only
that
said
like
anything bad to
Shakar's
you.
like pissed at us, so Shakar's
Yeah.
trying to kill us.
Oh,
Well, I
Right.
mean, if you're trying to make him poop an egg.
Oh.
Which he could do in both forms. So you know.
No. Let them fight.
It's okay, buddy, right? We're good, right? Trying
I'm
to,
just
like-
curious to see what's happened to Solis with the cult of Poopty started by Paige too.
Not Solis, right?
Sasa.
Sasso,
Sasso.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Solis has a,
We were
its own
talking
thing.
about
Solis is
Solis
far
the
away.
last time. That's where
Right.
it came from.
I just wonder
Yeah,
how many
Sasso.
stray cats have been killed by Tonkin.
Sacrifice.
I don't get it.
Chickens.
Actually, I wonder how many people have been
Random
killed
birds.
by Tonkin.
Whatever
Tonkin.
target practice
He
he's been
armed a
doing.
5-year-old.
Yeah, wait, did you armed him with a
No, I did.
lethal cross?
Yeah,
I did.
No, he gave him a lethal crossbow.
I
He gave him
augmented
actual
the
ammunition.
I give him an actual bolt.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he
Give a
armed a
small
5-year-old.
Small
child a
child.
real weapon.
Like a 4-year-old.
He was like 5.
4 or 5.
Oh, in that case.
I'm a 5-year-old.
It's so much
Should be
better.
Totally responsible.
He was a small child. He had a toy crossbow. Things were getting dangerous, so I made it a real crossbow.
But,
How
you
many
didn't
weapons?
arm him with live ammunition.
Log gave him an actual crossbow bolt to put into it.
I mean, both things by themselves really aren't that bad. It's only when they're together.
Well, yeah, that's
Then now he can kill people.
well, that's like crack cocaine over here, fire over here. You join them together, yeah, they're not good.
And then
Depends who you
Next.
ask.
Playing crack cocaine.
Crack's not good on its own.
Because it's a bad decision that Log thinks would help.
Goodness.
What?
No,
I
note
haven't
to self,
dabbled in
make sure we
arcane.
give our child when they're 5 years old a crossbow bolt and a crossbow.
Yes.
No. No.
That's a hard pass.
Yeah.
That's all right. Next
I'm
campaign,
just
one
like-
of us will be Tonkin.
Yes, like
one of us.
battle scarred. No,
Honestly,
no,
next
12
campaign.
That's amazing.
Honestly, next campaign, one of us needs to be Tonkin.
Please let that
Just
happen.
like 12 years old, just like,
I've got so much anger and angst.
I love it.
You could just be
12-year-old
the
level 1
angsty
rogue.
He'd be a
teenager.
rogue. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd totally be a rogue.
I'm a very good
Well,
boy.
Yeah, because Darius started teaching him how to be a rogue.
He would be a rogue.
Amazing.
They're playing hide
Be a
and seek.
rogue with
Sneaky
either
crossbow
ranger or
user.
fighter levels.
And his
Yeah.
A rogue with action surge.
his augmented child-sized crossbow is now a hand
No.
crossbow.
You still can only do sneak attack once per turn.
But,
Oh,
but
bummer.
still.
Could be fun.
That was things in my head.
Right.
I'm also
By the
waiting
way.
to see Tonkin just to reappear, having accidentally murdered somebody in our campaign.
Oh no.
All right.
Anyway.
So,
Sorry. So,
anything else?
Sorry,
you'd like
everybody,
to
we're
do
going back.
is-
While I'm praying, I want to take out my little doll and my hammer and see if I can sense a soul within my doll.
the doll that Granny Lowly gave you.
Yes.
She gave that to you. Right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna have you do a couple things.
Okay.
First, roll an insight check.
What was that? 22. I was doing math. I wasn't even actually looking at this.
Okay.
I just like he turned a page to his spell cards. He's like 22. It's like how the fuck?
Because I know my insight is +7, and I was doing math not. Yeah.
Yes, Sanctuary. Yes, my bonus from Sanctuary is that helps me get to 22. Great. So
It's also the back
Here's
side
the
of
deal.
cards.
you try to analyze this thing. You got the sense beforehand that these dolls were kept on Granny Lonely's shelves that could have been repositories of some sort of energy that Granny Lonely drew upon in order to keep herself powerful and young.
Yeah.
The doll that she handed you, from what you can sense from it, from your clerical kind of abilities and your soul sense, you're sensing some soul residue. Almost that like this was once a vessel that held a soul, but now small amounts of residue remain. And it is, at the moment, an empty vessel. Well, mostly empty vessel. Like I said, there's definitely some residue in here. What is it you're intending to do with this?
I'm just curious on. I don't know what it is. Like, all I know is she drew power and sucked life force from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was curious if I could get any sort of. What is it?
A wisdom check for me, actually. As you say that to yourself.
11.
11. So as you say that to yourself, you think, okay, she drew power from it. We encountered another hag that drew power from something. Cool. Maybe this is a pattern. Maybe each of the hags have their own way in which they draw power from certain things in order to keep them alive, young, powerful. But it's just a guess.
Okay. I wanted to see if it had any sort of.
That's just kind of stuff you glean. What is it you're trying to do with it now?
Well, the main thing is I wanted to know if there was a soul of a child in it. That it's like. Because we heard stories of Granny and Lonely.
It's possible. There could have possibly been a soul of a child in it at some point because there is some sort of soul residue within it. But at the moment, it doesn't. But there is there's evidence.
Does it seem like it was used, or that it was kind of just released about time?
That's hard to tell. That's not. I believe the only person that could actually tell that would be Granny.
Yeah.
Granted, you do then are aware of the fact that this could be used to contain a soul. Possibly. The way to do it, probably only Granny and Lonely may be privy to, but, it's yours now.
Okay.
Does Nitpick have a soul?
Absolutely.
Are you kidding me with the remarks he makes? No.
There's a soul and there's a black soul.
Right.
It's just a fucking cretin.
I mean, I've met horrible people like him before. It's very possible it's a real soul
Are
in
you
there.
calling me a horrible person?
Maybe.
No. Not today.
The tension is palpable.
I mean, you would have said yes. I'd be like, okay.
Oh my god.
I assume
Is there like a camp for the rest of these?
Yeah, like I had said
Like the
before,
workers?
there's a quite decent camp because they plan on being here for months, if not longer,
Right.
possibly years. Every once in a while, they send like a contingent back to town to gather more supplies to come back down here.
So overall, are you putting up the dome tonight, Cole? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless we're in an inn, I will always put up that dome because
Sometimes even in an
yeah.
inn. So no one can come in.
After dealing with spiders early on in the campaign, this was a very nice thing for us.
Right.
Honey, what's that one from the Zuni?
the C3PA? Yeah.
Okay, great. So, if nothing else, would you guys like to bed down for the evening?
Yep.
I think so.
Revik and Conk on watch. Even though we're inside of the dome.
Yeah. And Shakar can help too. 'Cause
And Twig.
yeah. We've got the compass
Wait, is
points.
Twig still alive?
Yeah, you guys got the
Oh, nice.
got the troop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I felt bad for stepping on him and I gave him the incense.
Great. So will Twig and Shakar please roll perception checks?
Okay.
finally open the second one. So
That's a 21 for Shakar.
21.
9.
Brevik didn't roll incredibly well.
9.
9. Ashkar. Let's do something a little bit more.
Oh no. The
Okay.
change, well, just the change of music might be
Yeah.
indicative.
DMTJ doesn't do that to us.
As Shakar is listening in for threats, nobody comes by this because nobody's coming from the south, except for those that have come from the construction area that are headed back to north somewhere, one of the areas in the north. Shakar perches up somewhere, nuzzles up, stays warm, and just listens and watches. Doesn't see anything, doesn't hear anything, doesn't notice anything coming from the triway itself. However, you start to hear some excited murmuring, anxious sounds from one of the larger tents. Shakar flutters over to that area to try to get a better idea as to what it is that they are hearing. And unfortunately, because of the way how this works, you're not worked into him, you're asleep. So Shakar can only give you not like vignettes and ideas as to what he hears. But for the sake of role play, this is what he hears, and you will get some sort of an amalgamation of this information when you wake up. Yes, Lady Moshe, I found out 1, dragons are real. 2, there's an unidentified species that we need to find out. And 3, your son might be involved. Yes, of course. I'll make sure that I. Yes. No, I understand. Well, I won't do that, ma'am. No amount of funding will make me do that, ma'am. Yes, I understand. Yes, their names are as follows. And that's what you hear. And that's where we're going to take our break, guys. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Stay tuned.